it simple. We kill.
The Bat of Gotham.
I'm Batman.
Hello and welcome to episode 174 of the Batman on Film podcast. BOF is the sponsor as well as a proud member of the Batman Podcast Network. Check out all the shows over at batmanpodcastnetwork.com and follow our Twitter at BatPodNetwork as well as BOF's Instagram at Batman on Film. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, please take the time to rate and review the show. It would really help us out and spread the word. I am the host of this episode of this BOF podcast, Ryan Haas, and today we are discussing day 2 of DC FanDome, the DC FanDome Explore the Multiverse. And here with me today, because I'm not going to do this alone, are two wonderful, wonderful people, Peter M. Verra and Rob Myers. How are you guys doing?
Hey, I'm doing good.
Doing well.
Is your middle initial M, Pete? I just made that up.
It is. It actually is. Yes.
Okay, good.
So,
Good. I think it was just like, burned into my head, but from listening to Straight Outta Gotham a bunch. But
maybe. Yeah, I don't. I'm saying.
Is that what the M stands for? Peter maybe. Peter maybe Verra.
If you can guess, I'll
Marcus.
send you a prize. But
Millhouse.
No, I wish that'd be great. It slips out every once in a while. So
Peter Michael.
No, it's not Michael.
Wow.
You're just gonna leave us hanging there.
Well, you got to guess it.
Let's see.
That's
Peter.
the game.
Peter M.
You're never gonna guess it. That's the fun point because it's kind of unique.
Marsupial.
No,
Matthias.
no.
Wow. Peter M.
Mardashius.
But sit on it. Let's talk some
Okay.
FanDome.
Oh,
And
my
by the end
goodness.
of the episode. you'll
Well,
figure it out.
I did say, I had to write a note in my episode notes here that, at the top of every episode, I do say, every episode that I host anyway, Rick Shoe, I do say, if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, please take the time to rate and review the show. And, sometimes I say I'll read it on the air. And you know what? I did check a couple days ago and I was like, oh my gosh, we do have some new reviews. So you know what?
Sweet.
I'm going to read them. Okay, so we have two. They are both 5 stars, thank goodness. One of them is from A-Train 5538. It says, enjoyable. I've popped in to listen to a couple of episodes here and there once major news is dropped so I can hear others' opinions. Worth the time. Thanks, guys. That's nice.
That's a nice one.
That's a nice one. Now, the next one is also pretty good because it mentions me specifically, and I am a very, like Ryan Lauer.
Look, name dropper.
I know, like BOF's Ryan Lauer. I love it
Spelled
when
like
people,
Lauer.
yeah, spelled like Lauer. I mean, I like him. I guess it's a Ryan thing. We just love it when people, shower praise on us, and it's from, we're getting froggy tonight. It's already BOF After Dark here,
There
but
you go. Let's do it, baby.
but it's this is from Mickey Bacala, and it says, still the best there is. Been listening since the days of Nolan. From Jet to Haas, this show has aged like fine wine. Great topics, knowledgeable group of roundtablers that don't always share the same opinion. Love these guys. I've been a BOFer since day one, and for good reason. These guys do it with class and respect. No spoilers and no toxicity.
Wow.
Ah.
Glowing.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Glowing.
That's
So-
where we'll end the show. Thanks for listening, folks.
Thanks for listening.
Nolan.
Boy, I mean, I thought that was
Back when the game was changed.
I know. So yes, those were great reviews. And if you would like to also leave a glowing review and mention me by person, or maybe even Rob or Pete or Ryan Lauer or Garrett Grev or, anybody that's, on the show, we would appreciate it. I know that.
Reviews help with the shows. It helps, the algorithms help get the show populated in feeds and stuff. So it helps. We at Straight Outta Gotham started a monthly contest.
A little giveaway.
Yeah. So
Dude,
I'm curious
Your first
what you're giving
giveaway
away.
was nice. by the way.
We gave away a treasury edition of a reprint of DC Comics, Detective Comics 27. So the full issue. So it's got Batman, and it's got a couple other stories in here that are pretty ridiculous.
Does it have the old ads?
Yes, it does. It's a great reprint.
That's amazing.
That's a wonderful gift from Peter Milo Vera.
Yeah, Milo. There you go. No, it's not.
Oh,
yes,
son of a
you're
gun.
close.
All right.
Yeah. So
That's
Reviews
amazing.
equal giveaways.
They do. On some shows. But you should do it for this show because we love it. Love reading reviews. It's great. So anyway, why are we here, guys? What are we talking about today? Did I already say? I did say what we were talking about. We're talking about more FanDome. You know, it is cool because I think the episode before this episode, 174, episode 172, we did a giant breakdown of FanDome Day 1. And boy, that was a popular show. A bunch of people listen to that show. Thank you, everybody, for listening to that. I think it was a little bit more because of the Batman trailer instead of FanDome overall.
Well, hey, look, that trailer was amazing.
That trailer was amazing. We're still talking about it. Like, how many times have you guys seen that trailer by now?
Oh man, it's been watched 21 million times. So I'm at least contributing 4,000 views.
I'm a little shy. I'm right around 2,000.
Amazing. Well, I've taken my view count offline because I downloaded that sucker in 4K and I've just been watching it on my TV, like, you know, with theater lighting, and it's been
great. But I do want to show my support to Matt Reeves and Warner Brothers, and just I want them to know.
Because they're not going to make the movie unless we keep watching the trailer, Pete.
Hey, things happen.
I guess. But yeah, so, you know, this show is kind of a spur of the moment thing, but I did, you know, watching day 2 of DC FanDome today, I was thinking, like, you know what, this would be kind of a fun thing to discuss once I got through some of the panels, because the thing that's different, so on DC FanDome Day 1, it was just one giant stream, so you could just tune in, and they had a schedule of panels that just ran throughout the day. And all you had to do was just go to one spot and watch it. But the thing that they did for day 2 is that they took all the other content and they just made it like a la carte. You know, they had all these different, what do you call them? Sections of, or silos of content. They had Watchverse, Insiderverse, Uverse, Funverse, and Kidsverse. And they also reran the Hall of Heroes stuff from a couple of weeks ago. And it was all available, at once, and you could just tune into it. And, you know, we're recording it while it's still available, but, you know, this show will probably not be up when it still is. But so you could just tune in, and, you know, there's more like any convention, there's more content available than any one person probably could actually watch within the time that it's available. And so, you know, we were talking before the show, and what's cool about this discussion is that what we're about to do is kind of talk about the panels we all went to. It's almost like if all three of us went to a convention together, and some of us went to the same panels and some of us went to different panels, and at the end of the day, we just kind of talk about what we learned or what we thought, or you know, fill each other in about the panels that we didn't see and stuff like that. So it's kind of a cool way for us to share what we enjoyed about day 2 of DC FanDome, and just put that out there to the world and to the, you know, the listeners of the BOF podcast. And so I thought that would be kind of a fun thing. So I'm glad you guys are here to join in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thrilled to be here. The thing about this that is so interesting to me is, and I've conned with Ryan, so he's seen this firsthand.
Yes.
It's hard for me as a person to go to panels because I am digging through long boxes and back issues.
Yeah. You should have seen this
comics.
guy.
Yeah.
We tried to, you know, we had to fit in, you know, between our busy BOF press schedules. We were trying to find comics and stuff. We were trying to get signatures from Michael Uslan before a book signing. We were trying to, you know, we had a very, you know, strict schedule, and we were on a mission. And the cool thing about a place like New York Comic Con is that,
one stop.
You know, it is one stop. You know, if you do have, it's the kind of crazy thing where you can just say out loud, like, I've got 30 minutes before a panel. You know what? I'm going to try to see if I can track down a Joker's 5-Ray Revenge. You know, just run into the run into the convention for just, you know, a couple minutes and see if you can hunt through some long boxes and find it. And you know what? Or even super obscure issues. You know, we were able to find some pretty cool gems in the short amount of time we were able to sift through books. But you know, unfortunately, that's not really the case this year. But
yeah, what was cool was this allowed me to watch all the panels because I don't have to go to like Artist Alley and all these cool places. While I kind of do approve of the whole virtual con experience, I do miss cons. But this was cool just because I was able to devote all my time to panels, and I had a blast watching all these panels. I watched a fair amount, and I'm glad they got extended today. It got extended into tomorrow because of technical difficulties from today, and I thought that was cool. So,
and
I'm all for this.
I'm the same way, going to, conventions, like all about trying to get signatures. And that's usually what draws me to conventions in the first place. Merch, and who's the artist there, what exclusives can you get a hold of, or, you hit the same 4 or 5 comic shops all the time. You pretty much know, well, I didn't find Joker's 5-Way Revenge at my normal shop, but you go to a big, huge convention, you're like, there could be 60 vendors here, all with the book that I want. Now, who has the best condition, who has the best price, and all that stuff. And
then you literally walk down the hall, get it signed by Neil Adams.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And then trying to go, well, I'd like to see this panel, but the more hours I spend in the room is less that I have on the show floor. So it's always that.
And I got to eat lunch and go to the bathroom too. And there's a line for that.
Yeah. So this was kind of cool that you could sit and watch the panels. So I went to a comic shop before this to pick up some stuff and then flew back home and tried to hurriedly watch this. And so, so this will be a fun discussion.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I thought we would do, is that, so I took some notes. I watched a bunch of panels. I took some notes. What I thought we would do is that we would kind of, since this is Batman on Film, I thought we would kind of focus the bulk of the show, or at least the top of the show, on the more Batman or Batman adjacent panels. And then as we get a little bit deeper into the discussion, if there's extra panels or things that like only one or maybe two of us saw, we could talk about that and just kind of go down the rabbit hole a little bit. I guess overall, there wasn't a ton of like super earth-shattering news, really. But I guess, was there anything like really like super newsworthy in general? I mean, the only things that I can think of off the top of my head, and you guys can jump into, is that Doom Patrol did get renewed for season 3 by HBO Max. So that's official. That's happening. Pennyworth season 2, I think, already was happening, but like their big scoop is that like, ooh, Martha Kane's pregnant. It's like one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, what are you going to see like in the prequel? Bruce Wayne's coming.
The prequel show to Gotham. No.
I've heard it's good. I watched the first episode and I just haven't found time to jump in. But
my brother-in-law raves about it. He goes, Gotham was trash. This is not. That's
I've heard that like sentiment a lot. And Young Justice season 4 is definitely coming, and it's going to be called Young Justice Phantoms. Rob, you're like the big Young Justice fan here, so like
I was ecstatic about that. Yep.
So is that all?
I thought that Titans telling us that Jason became the Red Hood was a big deal.
Wasn't that already known? I think that was already known.
I didn't know about it until today, and I heard it when I was watching the panel. I was like, "Oh, really?" Because that's such a legendary tale, and it involves the Joker and Batman and Jason chasing down his past, and you just wonder, like, well, how are you guys going to do it?
Right.
So it's interesting to me how they're going to do this take. So
yeah. So why don't you just that was one of the panels, and I think it was an extended version of a panel that was a couple weeks ago. But tell us what this is one I didn't see. I saw a little bit of it a couple weeks ago, but I didn't watch it this time.
Titans?
So the Titans panel. So you saw this one, right?
Yeah, I mean, I really they went into the relationship between Grayson and Todd, and that's cool as a huge Grayson fan. It's cool to see the mentorship and Jason and Dick trying to like lead Jason the right way, and you can see Jason kind of has the potential and everything. And I really do think that Waters does a fantastic job portraying Jason Todd in a way that I didn't think was actually going to be pulled off. So
because Dick Grayson has gone through quite a journey in that show over its 2 seasons, where he has been in a very dark place, and he's kind of come out of that, and as Nightwing, so now he's kind of it makes sense that he would be able to try to, and you saw some of this touched on at the end of season 2 of Titans, where Dick is trying to pull Jason back to the light, I guess. Yeah. But obviously, like, it doesn't seem like that's really.
But I mean, we all know Jason's Jason, right? Like, he's not going to do that. Yeah. But that was cool to see. Also, just them breaking down the scene where Connor is rearing through the house in Smallville. I think it's Lex's dad's house. That was cool. Them talking about that and just talking about Crypto, and I enjoyed.
Crypto's awesome. I got a picture with him in real life.
That's great. That's great.
Last year.
That's what stood out. And like I said before, just them saying, "Oh, we're going to introduce the Red Hood," and it's like, okay, well, like I said, just that story, while dated, is so impactful. And we were just talking because we'll get into probably Death in the Family, the interactive movie. But I've always felt that Jason's death is so much more meaningful than his life. And so I've always kind of been against bringing him back as the Red Hood, but the way that Judd Winnick did it back in the day in the comic is so amazing that I can't complain about it. You know, I can't help but like it. So it's this interesting little piece of Batman mythology. So I'm wondering how they're going to take this whole Red Hood scenario.
Yeah, so I mean, you've got Red Hood, you've got Scarecrow is going to be there. They're going to go to Gotham City. I think a lot of the season's going to be set in Gotham City, right?
Yeah.
And there's going to be a Barbara Gordon, and that's that's all that stuff is awesome to me. But it's also a little par for the course for what I've seen Titans do in seasons 1 and 2, where it's like they keep adding new stuff, and all the storylines and characters are getting it gets really sprawling, and nothing gets resolved in a satisfying enough way. And so so far it's felt like a lot of the stories of kind of like what's there is good, but there's so much left on the table and so many threads that they've just kind of left dangling.
Like, you're going to bring in Jason Todd as the Red Hood, and you're going to bring in Barbara Gordon to this season. You can't tell me like I shouldn't be speculating the Joker is going to pop up somehow in a flashback or something, you know? And
you're bringing in Barbara Gordon as Commissioner Barbara
Gordon. I'm saying there's going to be some
memory
at some point. Yeah. Oh, yeah. She's
Is that what they said? She's commissioner now?
Yeah.
The F?
Right.
Does that mean Jim's dead or he's retired?
Bruce is pretty old, so I don't know. I don't know if Bruce is actively Batman. Is he actively Batmaning?
Yeah.
In Titans?
Yeah.
He is?
Yeah, because he was actively Batman in season 1.
Okay.
Right?
I thought that was like a delusional flashback by Grayson.
It was, but I mean, it's still not like he's not Batman, right?
Yeah. Because Jason even makes reference about getting to drive the Batmobile and Bruce.
Yeah. He has to be Batman because Jason is Robin. Yeah. See, that's the thing. I wanted that Bruce Wayne stuff resolved. That was one of the weirdest interpretations of Bruce Wayne.
It was such
in
an
live action.
It's a miscasting, I think. But.
Well,
I think he's a good actor. I just can't see him as Batman.
I'm only going to say it's a miscasting because we haven't seen the Batman half of it, and I think I want to see that part of it to make it complete. And that's the thing too. When you saw, and this is a tangent, but like that version of Bruce Wayne, like half of it was like Dick Grayson's weird interpretation, and that the weird stuff he did was because he was imagining it. So it's not exactly stuff Bruce Wayne would do. And we learned in that season that some of the versions of Bruce Wayne you've seen in that season wasn't even Bruce Wayne, that the people saw in real life. So there's a lot of weird stuff going on with him anyway, and it's a weird interpretation anyway, so it like doubled up on top of itself. So
but I'll tell you what, it was cool to see a live action Aqualad.
Yeah.
That was badass. So I'll give him that.
And he did.
Yeah. Suit looked great.
Yeah. And Wonder Girl's dead, but she won't be.
Yeah, well, they said she's coming back. They even admitted that. They're like, yeah, we dropped the ball on killing her, but she'll be back. And I was like,
they said that? They said they effed up killing her?
Yeah, we kind of dropped the ball on that one.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy that, but
yeah,
I'm still,
weird, I felt like it came out of nowhere. I'm like, wait.
It did. That was a Deus Ex Machina thing. I know, it was weird.
Right, they get to that very end, and somebody went, let's drop a scaffolding on her. Like, what?
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, like,
they should
season 2, the Connor Kent stuff was great. I loved all the Connor Kent
with
stuff.
the pandemic stuff going on, they should just like release like the original season 1 finale as like a bonus like what if episode, because famously they scrapped the entire original they filmed and shot an entirely different finale for season 1.
Yeah,
and like chopped it off.
Craig Harlow shared a picture of Batman and his
Batman,
two Robins.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
And I was like,
Shh.
Somebody tell Gotham how to make a bat suit. Like that thing looked so much better.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Like I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I wonder what it was, because I was wondering, like, are we going to see Ian in the bat suit? Like,
no, it was before he was cast.
Oh, okay. So wow, interesting, very interesting.
Yeah,
in Batman.
Mm-hmm.
We all know how much I love OnStar Batman.
Whatever Titans season 1 finale cut. Hashtag. I don't know.
Release that. That's it. Hashtag it, Myers. Let's go.
Let's do it. right now. Twitter. Beep, beep, bop, boop. Okay.
So, okay. Well, I guess that covers the Titans panel. I'm excited about it. You know, I have issues with it or whatever. The issues I have with Titans are not the issues I ever thought I would have with Titans before I saw Titans. Before I saw Titans, I was like, they aren't going to get the characters right. And it's going to be weird. But like, and you know, some things are weird, but it's a very compelling show. I mean, it's, you know, Gotham was weird and I didn't like it pretty much ever. But like, yeah, Titans, the character work is so good, and I just want the narrative stuff to support all those branches that they're branching out with. But we'll see.
Gotham was a sorry excuse to just try to sell merchandise.
Well, anyway, we'll just move on from there. Anyway, the next thing I have here is the Three Jokers panel. I think,
boom, baby, love that.
I think I speak for not just us, but a lot of Batman fans in saying that
it's okay.
This, well, I think that this, and you can read Ryan Lauer's review on BOF of Three Jokers #1.
Spelled like lower.
Yes, I think he gave it a pretty high rating. I gotta say, I have not been this excited about a Batman comic book story in a long time, and boy did it deliver. Like, it is so good, it's so compelling, the art is amazing, what it does with the characters is so, it's like both timeless and fresh feeling at the same time, and that's a really hard thing, and exciting, and it's a really hard thing to do in comics these days.
Yeah.
And so just getting to read it a couple weeks ago was like, you know, pretty mind-blowing, because it's one of those books that's been teased and in the works for so long that the hype was so intense for it that, like, a lot of times books like that don't deliver. But boy, this one did. And
yeah, Doomsday Clock.
Yeah, well, I still haven't read that book yet. So, but
I got to read the first note that I took from this panel. And this is something I've been saying since I fell in love with the guy on Detective, 900, I think was his first cover, is Jason Fabok is a rock star now.
He's so good.
Yeah,
I agree with you, Rob.
For everybody that's, you know, in the little niche of like, we're all, you know, the Wednesday, Tuesday warriors. I guess now that DC is a Tuesday warrior, that we've all known who Jason is up to this point, but people that have been exposed to Three Jokers that maybe weren't familiar with his work are getting,
or the people that only show up for big events like this,
right?
Or whatever.
Like, he is going to be one of those names, and I don't want to get the cart before the horse, but I think he has the potential of being up there with and he mentioned it in the interview, Brian Boland, you know, he could go down to like as a Neil Adams, or, you know, I would like to think Norm Brayfogle has a huge, you know, outpouring, but
I'm sure he does.
But probably not as much in the stratosphere as when you say Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. You know, I think Three Jokers is that next caliber that he even said in the interview that he was looking for that
legacy,
yes,
that legacy. Yes.
And you could just read the passion, and like you could hear him. He's like, oh yeah, like I became a Batman fan because like my aunt bought me a Batwing from Batman '89, but I didn't have an action figure. Yeah. My mom bought me an action figure the next day, and he's like, after that I was sold. And you could, when he describes his Three Jokers, the gangster, right, the criminal, the clown, and what was the other one? Comedian.
Yeah.
Like how he referenced Romero and Hamill and Boland, and you're just like, oh my God. And he's like, he's so passionate about it. And it comes through in the page. You know, his artwork is so beautiful. I mean, it is. And he's like, they're coming at this as a sequel to Killing Joke.
Pretty much.
That's
well, I mean, Killing Joke and Killing Joke definitely story wise, but also aesthetically, and also of course the death in the family. And
I mean, but it's a sequel to both of those stories. But he's like, I tried to like harness my inner Boland, like to try to
he said he looked at the Killing Joke a lot, you know, in terms of panel layouts and like art style and stuff.
And I
so
love
he's trying
when
to
talk about panel layouts. I know.
And well, even when you read Three Jokers, like the first, like that's the thing I knew I was in for something cool, because you open that first page and it's like just like the Killing Joker. It's got like the black and white inset copy of something you're about to read, and then it transitions into what you're going to read. So it definitely starts out like a Killing Joke homage almost, but it's one of those things where it's not like so ham-fisted. It's like something that's lesser. It just feels like it's in the same caliber so far. Yeah. And I really hope that like the next couple issues of this deliver.
Well, they said that multiple times in the interview. Like they said that when like just talking about this and collaborating, creating this story, they just said to themselves like, "This feels classic," and that's and that's what it is. Like you feel like you're reading this classic Batman Joker tale, and you're only one issue deep, and you know it's for something to be so hyped up.
Yeah,
and I'm so glad they finished this before, so there's no doomsday clock like delays.
Exactly, right. And what's interesting.
Excited.
My little observation is that Killing Joke is this giant, like, well, you know, today it's a little bit, and Rob, you can speak to this because we saw a lot of opinions about this at the BGSU Batman conference.
Yes. Yep.
And, you know, the Killing Joke has a very infamous place in Batman history amongst not just Batman fans, but like the comic book critique community at large, you know, for what it does and how it handles the characters. But undeniably, it's got this very, you know, undeniable mark on the legacy of the character of Batman and the Joker and Barbara Gordon. And so it's really, so for me to like observing it from the outside, it's like, well, such an interesting story that's had all these effects. You know, it's not like Alan Moore or Brian Bolland have done a whole bunch of other like super, like, you know, like it's not like he's written or he's drawn like hundreds of other Batman stories, you know,
right?
Like Bolland would do covers and he hasn't done a whole bunch of interior art. You know, Alan Moore is more famous for, you know, Watchmen and his Swamp Thing run and, you know, all the other things he's done. And so what's kind of interesting about Three Jokers is that it's kind of adjacent to that because Jeff Johns hasn't really done any, you know, Batman only stories other than, you know, like
Earth
like
One.
Batman Earth One, which itself is kind of Batman adjacent. It's not like regular in continuity stuff, which this is. Like they've said that in this panel, and I guess I mean Fabok has done a little bit more, but it does kind of lend itself to that kind of, I don't know, prestige format story. I mean, like it's a big deal.
It's nice to be saying, you know, nice things about Jeff Johns for a change.
And that was something that I had in my notes is like, is this the first interview since Rebirth that Jeff has done?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's done other stuff like, you know, we're talking about Stargirl and Doomsday Clock. Doomsday Clock's been after Rebirth.
Yeah, but as far as like video interviews and like publicly, like his, I mean, with everything else that's going on, I don't want to get into that whole rabbit hole. That's a whole other podcast.
I mean, he was on DC Daily talking about Stargirl and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was the other funny thing is that you can tell that all of this is all previously recorded, and this video starts out as like, "Hey, this book is getting ready to drop out in a week," and you know,
it's recorded as if it was going to have dropped during DC FanDome Day 1 because they at the last second split the event, so it was recorded even before DC FanDome Day 1, probably a month before or whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, just to cap what you guys were saying, I think this is also like, you know, you're in the presence of a great Batman story when the words like timeless, like you'll be able to read. This is going to be one of those evergreen things that I think is just going to be reprinted for generations to come, that people are going to, if they didn't discover it, you know, print version 1, they're like, oh, you know, I just bought this, you know, super digital copy that doesn't exist yet, you know, generations from now.
It'll fall along the lines of like Year One and The Killing Joke and Hush.
Well, I hope, you know, we've only read one issue, but I hope.
Yeah. I mean,
but it has that feel of that if you've been reading comics, you know, your whole life, there's so many things that you could just go, oh, they're referencing this. But this book also has a way, and they talked about it in the panel, has a way of pulling in somebody who's like, well, I've never really read much Batman. And this book helps explain some of those things about Jason, about Barbara that you just get without going, I never read Killing Joke. And that was something that Justin was talking about on Let's Go on one of his shows, that you know, the guy that he had on was like, I've never read all this stuff before. And it's very accessible for somebody new. And if you've been somebody that's been reading it for a long time, you're just instantly going to get all of these wonderful, fresh little nuggets.
Yeah. And I think the heart is because the heart of the story is so character focused on the three Jokers and Batman, you know, and Red Hood and Batgirl. And it is more like they said in the panel, it's more character focused, ground focused. It's not like this giant, so far at least, it's not like this giant super crossover high concept crazy thing. The high concept thing is there's three Jokers. Why? But like also like there's the trauma and stuff. But it's all seems like it's Gotham based. It's very small in terms of like what the characters are doing. It's a mystery story, and so
I mean, what was great about that was how they said like these three Jokers. These are not two other Jokers from two other universes. These are three Jokers from this planet, this universe. This is a self-contained story. You know, like this is like this is like a mystery. This is a detective story, and it seems like perfect idea for Batman, Barbara Gordon, and Jason Todd to somehow try to solve this three Joker mystery. Like, how are they three Jokers? They teased it as almost as they're not really Jokers. You know, they were like, are they three Jokers at one point? You know, like I was like, okay, that's interesting. That's the first I've heard of that. So like, whatever. Like, I can't wait to read it and find out for myself. But I like that little bit added bit of like kind of like mystery.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see how it resolves. I mean, and it's such an event.
How many issues is it? Is it only three?
Three.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one for Batman, one for Red Hood, one for Batgirl. Right?
Yeah.
I know we're
three
only
Jokers,
issue deep,
three
but I kind of wish it was a little bit longer.
I know, me too.
You know,
I know.
I go for like I feel like Warren Ellis is great, but like the Batman's Grave, I feel like that's probably the best.
I'm
Batman
waiting for
story
that to be.
It's just gone on for too long, and
yeah,
I feel like it could have wrapped it up. But this
well,
one,
you
I feel
throw
like
in a
little
natural
longer.
break and a pandemic and a 12 issue. I mean, it's going to feel like that. So
Yeah,
but yeah. So I guess we've covered all that. So let's keep it on the comic book front for a little bit. Did all three of us watch the Joker War panel?
yes, I
Yes.
did.
I did too, and I did, and that's not me not having read any of the Joker War stuff.
Rob, can you believe this guy?
I know.
I'm so behind.
So, Pete, about the panel.
Well,
like he calls himself
you know what?
a Batman fan.
I
This
do.
guy.
I do. I call. Hey, I know which Robins are which.
Yeah.
All right, he gets a
I'll
pass.
just say
He
that.
has a pass. He's like, I've watched Super Mario Brothers like 6 times this week. So
On Laserdisc and 4K, and the work print, which only I have the VHS for. Anyway, but yeah, so I'm still like, I'm behind. I'm still not done with City of Pain yet. So, but I'll read it.
Christ.
What I'll say is that I watched this Joker War panel because I am a big fan of James Tynion IV, and you know we
Love
do
Tynion.
have all three of us do, which
Yes.
you know
Justin Kowalski.
Justin Kowalski and frickin' you know Lauer and Grev. Like I listened to your Batman Book Club Q&A number 3 show, plug, and I disagree because this show, Batman on Film, Dadgum Original, we did like a whole giant. Do you guys remember this? We did.
I do.
Both of you
Yeah,
guys
we
were
did.
on that show. We did
Yeah,
a
we were.
giant.
Dive into Tynan's run.
All three of us and Terrence O'Neill from the Everyone Loves Drake podcast. We did a giant, and I mean giant, review episode show on Tynan's detective run, and he did like this giant like Bat Family, and that's why like a lot of people didn't like it. It was a giant Bat Family epic, spanning what like how many years? Like a couple of years worth of
At
worth
least
of stories.
2.5.
He at least took
Yeah.
a solid 2 years.
Yeah. Like, and I'm just trying to scroll here. Like, what do you guys remember? What episode that was? So
Not on top of my head, no.
140, 150s. Either late 140s or early 150s.
Jeez, Rob, you're good memory.
late 140s or early 150s. Well, anyway, so I thought that panel was really cool, and I guess my greatest compliment is that it made me want to read Joker War. You know, and even though like it's not like the same level as like a like a Three Jokers thing or whatever. Like,
well, it was kind of built up to be that way. Like Joker War had a lot of a PR and hype going into it.
Yeah,
and then Three Jokers, one issue deep, just kind of blew it out of the water. Yeah, like, and I'm going into like Joker War. I thought it was
great. And I'm going into it knowing it's like, yes, it's like a big crossover. Yeah, they're kind of forcing a bunch of stuff to tie into it, but the high concept of it is pretty interesting. And I think it's pretty cool, and the new characters sound interesting, and it does make me want to read it, and it made me want to go back to my, stack of comics and catch up. Yeah. And before I let you guys talk about that for a second. Episode 117. That's our Detective Comics
117. I was wrong. My bad.
Retrospective. So that's 3 hours of fun after you listen to this. So did you guys? I mean, you guys have been reading Joker War, right? So
yeah. I mean, the Barbara the Batgirl stories have actually probably stolen the show when it comes to Joker War.
And I've been surprised by that, dude.
Yeah, like, and they even had the writer of the stories. I forget her name. I'm sorry, but she was on the panel and she talked about it, and she just had a blast and how they thought about it, and it just from the cover she came up with the story alone, and it was just really really cool. And I was like, oh man, like Barbara Gordon finally gets redemption. It was wonderful to see, and it was just Joker War in general. Just like I feel like Punchline has been received so positively, and I'm a huge Harley fan. Everybody knows that. I love Harley, but Punchline's different and she's interesting, and she's very much like the Joker. She's not as like, there's as weird as Harley is, there's almost something like warm about Harley, Mm-hmm. But there's nothing about that like Punchline. Punchline might actually kind of be more along the lines of as sadistic as the Joker. And it's cool seeing the Joker as a millionaire, with all of Bruce Wayne's money. So it's like, it's interesting how he's just raining down with cash and just kind of, it makes me wish I saw more of like Leto's like, just flamboyant kind of playboyish type Joker. Cause that's kind of what I'm getting from this, with the gold chains and the furs and everything. And it's cool. It's a fun story. And, while it's not probably as good as they hyped it up to be, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I think I've been the same way with. I keep saying Three Jokers, Joker War. You can tell the enthusiasm that Tynan has for this, and the art team is fantastic all the way through.
Jimenez is great.
Jimenez is like this is a vehicle, kind of like maybe not at the Fabok level yet, but this is something that's getting his footprint out there in the Batman world. He was great on Super Sons, and when I saw him land this, I thought this is great. Joker's 80th anniversary, we got all this stuff going on. But I think the other thing that Joker War has going on, and I think this is why some people are like, oh, I don't know about the Batman title, that it's. Yes, I do like my lone and dark Batman, but there's something to be said that at the end of the day, like it was cool to read lines where Batman's like, okay, let's call in the family. Batman knows when he needs to ask for help, and then he's got the whole width and breadth of the family supporting him. So getting to see my boy Tim, in a Robin costume again, and I dropped
finally quit that UPS job.
Yes. And I dropped
Return to Cinder.
Yeah, I dropped Nightwing like third period French when he went to Rick. And this story
Jurgens is killing it though. I mean,
aren't they? So that's the thing I was curious about, because they talked about who did?
Jurgens. He saved.
Oh, Jurgens. Yeah,
yes,
Jurgens is like the master of taking a horrible concept and turning it into gold. Because he's been around. He's written so many comics. I think he's kind of an expert at that. So that's what intrigued me, is that because I know about the whole Rick Grayson thing, and then when they brought Jurgens in to talk about Nightwing, it was like, yeah, we're finally using like Joker War as like a good excuse to kind of get Nightwing back to being Nightwing again.
Yeah, but I'm dying for it, man. I'm waiting so long. It's just I'm so impatient.
And I think that was the cool thing. I started going back to Jurgens' run. I'm like, okay, Jurgens, for the most part for me, can kind of one of those can do no wrong, like Ryan said, take, lemons and make really sweet lemonade out of it.
Yeah, the Superman, it got me liking Superman Beyond, was that the arc?
No, he's doing Batman Beyond.
No. The Superman arc that he did early in Rebirth, where he combined combined the what was that called? Was it Superman Beyond?
Superman Reborn.
Yeah, that Superman Reborn arc. This is another tangent. I'm sorry, but like he took the not very beloved New 52 Superman and the OG original continuity Superman and did this crazy story where they like
became one.
Explained both and combined them and stuff, and it's a really weird comic booky thing, but he made it so good.
Yeah.
And so true to Superman, and so if he's able to do that with, Rick Grayson, that's awesome.
And just adding another layer to the onion, or wrinkle, as Justin likes to say, that,
the wrinkle.
I appreciate the wrinkles. That you have the Joker's 80th anniversary. This is also Robin's 80th anniversary. So the OG Robin going through this metamorphosis, and all of us fans going, I don't like what they're doing to Rick because, or Dick, I'm saying Dick, this character means something to have that moment where, he's reclaiming the role of Nightwing, and, Batman and the whole family are there. It was just a cool moment to see that happen and go, oh, that's awesome. It's great. But then everything Joker War has been laying out through fights with Deathstroke, and then, Bruce Wayne getting his fortune taken and everything being turned upside down is, I think Tynan's really crafting something, and that every issue may be landing exactly where I wanted it. But I think once this is done as a whole, you'll be able to walk away from it and go, you know what? That was a great ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's fun, and he likes doing things with ensembles and stuff. So he's got a big big cast of characters to deal with, especially now adding Clown. What is it? Clown Killer.
Clown Hunter.
Clown Hunter. I love him. Like, Tynan's really good at creating new characters that people like.
Well, there's that and Punchline, which is
and you hear him and Jimenez bounce off how Punchline came to be, and how Jimenez came up with the design of Punchline before they even really started. It was like the thing that set everything into motion. Yeah,
just to kind of echo what we were talking about in the Three Jokers panel, just the passion and the enthusiasm that both Tynan and especially Jimenez had about the work they're doing is pretty infectious, and it just makes me want to read it, even though I read the concept and I see some of the panels and pages. I'm like, well, maybe that's not exactly what I want out of the monthly Batman title. It's still like they're going for something, and even though it might not be exactly what I want every single month, it seems like something that they're passionate about, and something that I want to read, because a lot of and that's something that I've kind of picked up across watching all these panels today on DC FanDome Day 2 is like, it's all storytelling, and every story is not going to be for you, but if it's done well, it's going to be for somebody, and being able to absorb that and get something out of it is what storytelling should all be about. And as long as like DC Comics and DC in general can, keeps that in mind and makes good content that does that, I think that's a great thing.
I think they have. I think Batman has been on his best run since Rebirth, since before Rebirth, just with Batman and Detective Comics. And I'm going to throw in Batman and the Outsiders as well, and Batman Beyond.
Brian Hill and Jurgens.
And Batman Beyond is probably no offense to everybody else, but Batman Beyond might be the best book, and that's Jurgens again.
Jurgens,
So I always say his name wrong. I have a Jersey accent, so Justin can make fun of me. But just because when Snyder was doing his Batman run, everyone loved it, but Detective Comics was like weird. Like no one knows. Like we don't really like Detective Comics.
Right.
It wasn't as enjoyable.
There's always been kind of that. And Rob, you can speak
right
to
now,
the history
simultaneously,
too.
they're kicking ass since Rebirth.
That's cool. Like
Batman and Detective.
It always seems like there's always like a push and pull between Batman and Detective Comics in terms of like which one's like the one that's better, or which one's the one that's more on fire, or which one's the one that you want to read if like you care about the continuity. And it always seems like they flip flop, and it's always kind of hard for both of them to like be the book you need to get and also stand apart.
Well,
from
Superman's
each other.
like that. There's only
between Superman,
Batman, and the Green Lanterns are all like that. The Flash and Wonder Woman never have this issue because they only have one title.
The one title, yeah.
But this is the longest stretch where both books are like, so then you got to get down to the nitty gritty, like, well, what type of Batman do you like? But even when you pinpoint that, you're like, well, both books are kind of doing that. It's hard, What?
There's a new person here.
There's somebody. What's going on?
This is, when I was talking about, I was mentioning at the top of the show, like, we're going to treat this conversation.
No,
I did. We're going to treat
What?
I did. I said we're going to treat this conversation like like we all just went to a convention and we're just talking at the end of the day about the panels we saw.
But this is
and
a
what
DC convention. It's not a Marvel or a Star Wars
I know,
convention.
but see,
It
that's
means
what's
they just
cool.
found Paul hiding in the bathroom and they just kicked him out, out of the
But that's what's
convention
cool.
center.
But it's like so yeah. So it's like we're having a conversation. We're talking about the panels we liked, and then all of a sudden comes the guy from like the Marvel convention, and he's like, "Hey guys,
Batman
like,
sucks.
what'd
See you
see?"
later. He's like, how's that Superman trilogy coming out? Guess what? Ant-Man's got one.
Never thought you'd see that, did you?
Oh man! Oh man!
Check out this bitchin' lightsaber.
Whoa.
How's it going, Paul Hermann? Hello, welcome to Batman on Film 174.
Oh, thank you very much. This is it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to kind of barge in and just invite myself in like I usually do, and I have no shame with it.
It's so good. Well, I love it. I don't really care what
we
other people
love
think,
that.
but
Well,
Oh, God.
I
so what's up?
well, I was talking to Mr. Haas. I casually just said, hey, because I've been kind of busy today in the morning, so I missed a bunch of the announcements. I did see that Superman Blu-ray got announced for the animated series, which is exciting.
See, and I don't even know where or when that got announced, but I
that's
saw
news
that.
to me. I didn't even hear that. I thought you
Yeah.
were going to talk about Superman and Lois from the CW.
Well,
No,
yeah,
I
but, yeah, the Superman the animated series is going to get a complete series Blu-ray release in
fantastic.
2021. Thank goodness, and that's one of the best interpretations of Superman that there is, and so I'm so glad that that's happening.
The episodes with Mr. Mxyzptlk, Parasite, and Kyle
with
Rayner
Gilbert
are probably
Gottfried.
my
Oh my
favorite.
Kyle
gosh.
Rayner, or
Yeah.
is it? I say Rayner. Is it right? Is it Rayner or Reiner?
I say Rayner.
Rayner.
It is
Rayner.
I say Rayner.
Yeah.
Wait, I think I say Reiner actually. How do you pronounce
No,
it?
Rayner.
you're thinking of Rob Reiner.
Well, that's true. I am thinking about Rob.
It's Kyle
Reiner.
Rayner.
Rob Weiner. Right. Well, I called him Weiner for a minute there. Rob Weiner.
Oh,
Oof.
God.
Freudian slip, maybe. I don't know. No, listen, I like Rob Reiner. He's a great actor. I love him in This Is Spinal Tap. No,
And he directs good stuff
yes,
too.
I did see. I haven't actually watched the whole series of that Superman animated series. I know Clow made me sit down and watch
That's
the
wonderful.
Dark Side and Orion
that's
episodes, which
good.
were very, very good. I've seen a
Oh.
good chunk of it, or all of it, a decent amount of it. And I like it. It's cool. So
Mhm.
don't get me wrong. I'm excited. I actually, speaking of,
And the Batman Superman crossover episodes.
I never saw those.
Those are great.
Well, and
Or the one, is it a Superman episode? The
Superman
one that,
episode
where,
Nights Out.
Okay, is that the one where Superman has to pretend to be Batman? And
Yeah.
Robin takes him out on the town. Oh, that's so good.
And he's telling him to, like, Tim's going left belt pocket to pull
I know,
out, the
and you
batarangs.
see Superman dressed as Batman fighting Bane. It is
Bane.
like chef's
I
kiss.
mean,
It's
for
so
the
good.
Drakes, it doesn't get any better than that, right? Like,
It is
let's be
so good.
honest. Rob's drooling over here.
I am. That's right. Tim told Superman what to do, what pelt, what pouch. Own it, Timmy. No, sorry. No, it's been a
Love
fun
it,
show, guys.
love
I'm out. I'm spent.
Wait, are you serious?
Uh,
Okay,
No,
yeah,
I'm
I was like, I just got here, man. Don't leave. Come on, it's a party. This is a literal like convention thing where I you get me coming in randomly at the very beginning was what you guys talked about at a normal convention is totally something I would do at any time of my life.
Yeah.
So this is actually very accurate that it's appropriate that I barge in. When you guys are, in the middle of a conversation, be
Yeah.
like, "Hey guys, everything focuses on me now. What's going on?"
yeah, no, the whole goal
I'm
with
here.
this.
Pay attention. to
Yeah,
me.
the whole goal with this show is to literally take like a post-convention discussion huddle and like make it a podcast.
Well,
So,
The only difference is like if this was New York Comic Con, Ryan would be like face deep in his third slice of pizza right now.
oh, real New York pizza.
I had
was
okay,
converted.
I used to be a deep dish guy. No longer. I don't think I'm,
Oh.
and this is why, because there's a pizza place by my house that my wife and I go to every week, every Saturday night. We call it Saturday Pizza Night, and we get pizza, and
Cheat
their
day.
pizza is all thin, like super thin, and it's not like thin like where it's crispy. It's just really really thin, which I'm assuming is the New York style. Am I correct on this?
It's thin, crackery.
So it's not
crispy.
crackery. That's the thing. It's just really thin. So what style would that
Okay.
be? I thought that was New York.
That's
Really
but
thin?
that's
I
but
don't
more
know.
New York.
New York is known
Eastern.
for its big triangular slices.
Yeah, this is what it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so it's not
Okay.
crack. It's not like crispy. It's just it's really very very thin.
Something you can
Yeah,
fold.
exactly.
New York pizza
Yep.
you can fold, but it doesn't like droop.
Yeah,
And that's like the big
Yeah, there you
telltale
go.
thing
No
that I've
flop.
seen.
You don't want any
It doesn't flop, which is
Mine
crazy.
flops a little bit, but regardless, this pizza place is amazing, and I love it. So,
Awesome. I love
Well,
pizza.
when I plan my trip to Seattle,
dude.
which will happen after
To watch
this
a
dang
Kraken
pandemic,
game.
Dude, okay,
Yeah.
wait, first of all,
I'm doing a world tour to visit all my pals. That's
first
what I'm
of
doing.
all,
Wait a minute. Time out.
Yes, yes.
Did Pete just say Ryan would be into his third slice of pizza? I have Drake episodes where Ryan does not like pizza.
Wait, what?
See,
Has that
that is
changed?
true.
I
It
got
is
Ryan to
true.
eat real New York pizza.
Are
Yeah.
you serious?
Yeah,
Dude, he
yeah,
ate it
yeah,
like
yeah.
a starving Ethiopian.
Edit button, dump
Well,
button, we're
I
live
watched
TV,
it.
dump,
I watched
dump.
So it's taken me 5 years talking about pizza with Ryan. Nope, don't like it.
I
and
don't.
All
That's
'cause
Ryan
he's
has
eating
to
that
do
shitty
is go
pizza
hang
down
out
in
with
South
Pete Vera.
Carolina.
No.
And Pete says, "Eat this friggin' pie."
No. Now listen, I don't.
Hey, you
I
better eat
historically have been like disillusioned from pizza. All it took was to go to actual New York to eat actual New York pizza. And Pete,
All right.
after Pete and Eric Holtzman had been telling me, you just gotta eat real New York pizza, then you'll like it, and then I finally did. And so yeah,
Reno
it's good.
loves it too. Reno's got a favorite spot, Pizza Supreme in Manhattan. that
It's
we go
good.
to.
Nice.
It's good, but then that makes all other pizza not good
Well,
pizza in
I
your
don't know
area is
about
already
that,
not
but,
good.
or not as good.
I love pizza, but yeah.
Pizza's delicious.
All I gotta say is, if this was a real convention where all this kicking it, I'd definitely, first of all, be eating pizza, but also drinking some whiskey and be probably pretty hammered right about now. And this just because that's been my new thing.
We could
Check
get
out
your
this
most
variant
lucid
issue
comic book
superhero
opinions.
drawn by Michael Turner. Like,
Yeah. Meanwhile, Pete and I are going to go get sketches and signatures going, I hope he's sober enough to watch all of our crap.
I would be. I'm not. And the drinking whiskey, getting drunk at conventions is only a recent thing. Last time I was at Star Wars convention, I got a couple good old whiskeys in me, and I felt
man.
pretty good for a
That's
while.
great.
So yeah.
Get that 15-year Glenfiddich.
No, but it's but no, I'm really excited because I was talking to Ryan, of course, and I said, Ryan, what do you guys, what are the announcements? He goes, I don't know about too much, and he told me you're actually recording the show today, and I said, or right now, and I'm like, well, let me jump in. He's like, all right. I'm like, well, okay, cool, let's do this. And so I don't know much what happened, but there is something I talked about on Tim Jarassi's Batman podcast, which I was on today. I'm curious. Jarassi? Oh my gosh, I forgot. What is this? What's his Batman show?
Your Star Wars
Jeez, you're
podcast,
horrible.
pal.
Yeah,
plug.
no. Well, because
Tim
I don't- I just-
G311.
I haven't listened to his Batman show really, and so but I've been on it, and it's just because I just haven't had a
fans.
chance to. It's just whatever, but I'll get the name of it here in a second. Sorry, it's
the Bat Fans podcast,
Bat
right?
Fans,
Bat Fans.
yeah, and that's
Yep.
no, thank you. And I've only
where I
been
got my
on
start.
because his co-host has been absent because he's been working, so he's asked me to kind of fill in the gaps, and it's been great because Tim just hits record and it's just like us just hanging out. Like I literally,
Sure.
truth be told, we want to peek inside the curtain. I've been exercising the first time we recorded, which was awesome. Like I walked for like the whole way we recorded, and then today I cleaned my room while we did our podcast.
rad.
It was amazing.
Well, there you go.
This is the future of
Multitasker at its
podcasting
finest.
for me. Doing two things.
You just
at
kind of
once.
go
Chores.
through your life, and then you're just like, right now you're probably cooking like
I'm
pizza.
actually literally right now, legitimately sitting down recording. But anyway, the reason why I bring that up is because he said to me, and Ryan challenged me too. He's like, "Well, you have anything interesting you want to talk about?" I'm like, "Ryan, it's me. Come on, man." And so Tim asked me the same thing. Well, I don't know what we're going to talk about. I said, Tim, it's me, dude. You don't need to have a topic. You just bring me on. I'll say something. And so anyway, he did bring something up today. I'm curious what what your opinion is on it, because here's the deal.
Sure.
Now, it's FanDome related, but it's not really FanDome related. So Jim Lee made a comment
Yes.
about, and I'm not sure if you've talked about this yet. Have you? Excellent. Good.
No.
I'm glad I'm coming in doing this fresh take, because
I think I know what you're going to say. But
okay,
yes.
so
continue.
and I'm sure Rob and Pete, I'm not sure if you guys have seen this either, but Jim Lee had said they're going to make an announcement about DC Universe next week.
I saw
the DC
that.
Universe app
Yeah,
service.
what-
Yes.
Excuse me. DC Universe app. Thank you. But
Yes.
you're right. I should
I'm clarifying it for
clarify.
the listeners.
I thought that was very interesting because we immediately started like speculating right there. And then
yes, because that announcement was paired with an
that's
image,
exactly.
yes.
And then Tim, after I had spent like a 30-minute monologue, basically of like what I think they should do.
Tim was like, "Oh yeah, there's an image with."
He was like, "Yeah, there's like
oh.
an image." Actually, I was like, "Oh, why couldn't you have told me this earlier, Tim?" But yeah. So Ryan, do you want to explain everyone what this image is?
Yeah. So like, this is some good news to talk about because we did mention earlier on the show that the previously exclusive show to DC Universe, Doom Patrol, is renewed for season 3, but of course it's now going to be exclusive to HBO Max, and a lot of things on DC Universe have been changing, like DC Daily got canceled, boo, and like a bunch of the shows, like Stargirl was on DC Universe, it's now moving to the CW,
Kiss
and
and
so
Death.
yeah, so
Sorry,
everything has
screwed.
been going to like all eyes, and you know, Harley Quinn is being run on like Sci-Fi Channel. So the writing's been on the wall for a long time of like, well, something's going to happen to DC Universe, but hopefully it won't go away. And so today, yeah, like in conjunction with, but not part of FanDome, Jim Lee did have this tweet about like, okay, yeah, like, so tune in next week or whatever to see, because they've got some news about what's going to happen with DC Universe. And the image was like comics, and it was all comics, and it was like a universe of comics, but it wasn't just comics. It was like it shows you some of the titles, and some of the titles are like pretty dang recent ones, like Death Metal issue 1 or Joker War, Batman 95, and the Batman The Adventures Continue stuff. So and you know, so that makes you, so the first thing that jumped out to me was that like, okay, what we've been saying, a lot of people have been saying, is that, you know, hopefully DC Universe will turn into DC's equivalent of Marvel Unlimited, where it's like it's a subscription service, you get all the old comics, but you get the new comics a little bit later, but you still get them. And that's kind of happened with DC Universe, but it's been like, you have to wait like a year, you know, to get it's like a year between a street release and showing up on the app, probably. But this image has, you know, like Death Metal #1, which is not that old, right? So hopefully, what I'm hoping is that this will be a way for you to subscribe to DC Universe and just get new comics quicker than the year, like maybe like a 3-month delay or something.
That would be great. I hope they don't take away like the old TV shows and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like I love watching the John Wesley ship Flash on DC Universe.
Right.
Batman, Superman, Public Enemies, Apocalypse, stuff like that. Superboy,
the animated series, like I use it for that all the time.
If they're not going to make new shows, like I guess, but
they're not.
I don't know if those shows are going to be. I know. Here's the thing. Like, I know DC Universe is going to make new shows that's going to go to HBO Max, but like, is HBO Max going to show? Like, does HBO Max have the Flash, the John Wesley ship Flash on it? Like, is there some things they hold back just for DC Universe? Is what I'm asking. Like, I kind of hope there's a way for the two of them to coexist.
I agree.
Like, I like having.
Well, here's the other thing with that though. If it's just like licensing has been a problem, like, well, why hasn't people in Europe been able to get it? Why can't they get it in Australia?
Right.
If licensing is the issue and they remove, unfortunately, all those programs and it goes to just strictly a comic book thing,
it's easier for comics itself.
Easier distribution all the way around for the digital footprint. So maybe there's a reason why in China they can't get the John Wesley ship thing. So maybe it goes away. I hope not, because I'd like to be able to watch the 1977 The Adventures of Batman, cartoon
it's
series.
like fun to watch that stuff.
But if it's all these comics, there's one thing in here. I don't know if you can look at the picture or not. Underneath the #1 for The Batman Who Laughs is the steelbook cover for the Justice League movie that Jim Lee drew. So I don't know if that's just in there because that's just Jim Lee and he put his own image in there, but like, that's the steelbook for the Justice version of Justice League. So I think it's probably just there because it's the only Jim Lee piece of art on the whole entire thing, and probably capitalizing on a Snyder Cut. But I'm thinking this is probably going to be more comics than anything else.
I just get I hear rumors that DC is going to like go all digital in 2021, and it scares the hell out of me. It really does. Like,
Because I can't bag and board my phone and get it autographed.
Rob, I'm with you. Like, there's something about, like, I don't know, owning Batman Joker War #1 that for some reason, because Punchline's in it and it's like her first confrontation with Batman, you know, like that's the reason why that book sells, you know, in like 30 years. And the fact that I have that is like, you know, like I collect comic books. I don't save files.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's one of those, like, to go meet the creator and be like, well, can you autograph this napkin that I ate at Pizza Hut with?
Yeah, there's something to that too, though,
you know,
man.
But that's kind of cool, but to be able to, like, I loved this physical thing so much, I want you to autograph it. I want to buy your original art. So
Ryan will back me up on this. I can't tell you how much I love every time I see Neil Adams. Here's $50. Can I have my signature?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Like
even though you're charging more than everybody else, like it's still cool. He's like, I won't remember you 5 minutes from now, but I'm glad to see you right now. And I'm Neil Adams, and I'm cool.
He's like, $50,
you know what?
Here's your signature. No problem.
It's worth it.
You know, so
I want to make sure you want it, that you're not going to resell it. I think is his deal at this point. Right?
So,
not me. I collect anything Neil. You know, Neil, I love
amazing. Neil's a legend, man. He's an icon.
Yeah.
Here's my take, and this is what I said on the Bat Fans podcast. I don't. First of all, I think it's going to be a long time before comic book print will be no longer existing. It may be in our lifetime, but it will be a long time in our lifetime.
Sure.
Here's the other thing, though. You have to come to the realization that the amount of print comics, though, are going to be limited. And that's just going to be the reality. Yeah. But I think it's only going to drive up the speculating and collecting markets, too, because what I think is going to...
That's already happening.
No, exactly. Like. Yeah. I mean, I watch these YouTube shows where it's talking about all these, you know, collectors, like, or just, you know, that's all the whole spec market, you know, and I thought that was dead. And I'm like, oh no.
I mean, I was just at the comic book store like yesterday and they were like, yeah, it's weird. Like the second print of issue 1 of Gotham City Sirens is just like going crazy now. And I'm like, the second print is like,
it's out of control. And
my local comic shop has a fantastic selection of price books and back issues. I will have no problem spending my money in that part of the store at all.
Right.
I'm just saying, like, right now.
So, but here's the thing. Here's what I think what they're trying to do. And this is where, and I think it ties into what Jim is potentially teasing. And I went on a huge tirade, which I won't go on as long as here, because one, I don't want to bore you guys all to death and get everyone...
And you can listen to it on Batman.
Exactly. Do both. Which, again, I want to promote Tim, because Tim is like one of the best people in this universe. So you gotta help that guy out because he's awesome. He's cool. But here's, in a nutshell, this is what I think is potentially going to happen. I hope I'm right, because I think everyone wins if I'm correct, in my opinion. I think that DC and / Time Warner / AT&T or whoever's in frickin' charge, they realize. One, they can't just stop publishing print comics, because it's going to piss off all of us. I may not even collect print comics that much, but people like Pete who've been supporting, like, you know, there's plenty of people like him that if they do that, they are chopping a big, like, they're going to cause an uproar, and they don't want to cause an uproar.
Plus, like Jim Lee said, it's comic books are like the incubator of all the future ideas and the future IPs. But you don't it's where the growth comes from. But I can see that.
That being said, you don't want to piss off 80-70% of that audience either by saying, oh God, by the way, we're going to pretty much never print comics anymore and not support comic shops. That doesn't make sense. You don't change your distributor to then say we're just going to do print. And because there's a couple different things here really quickly. Because I want to know more what you guys think, honestly. But I think here's the deal. I think they're going to definitely limit the amount of print comics they do, but they're still doing them, and there's going to be more variant covers with them. So I don't think so.
How many more variant covers can they make? DC has variant covers for.
That's what I'm saying, though. I don't think there's going to be a cover, like one massive cover. I think eventually, and maybe not now, but eventually it's going to be like you're going to have 5 different covers for this. Like you order 7 issues, or let's say a comic shop orders 30 issues.
It's like 3 Jokers.
Yeah, whatever. Like they're going to get a bunch of different variations of different covers. That way they're not ordering the same. They're stuck with a bunch of covers no one wants. You know what I'm saying? So there's going to be they're going to drive the speculating market and drive that, have people want to go out to these comic shops, buy their comics, and have that collection of different covers and different things and make it worthwhile for these people to buy it. And people like me who are not the anti-Pete, but the other side of Pete, who are like, man, I don't want to have, I used to collect comics, but I got to have digital because my house is already like destroyed with crap as much as it is. And I need to like save my house, whatever. And
that's why I stopped buying DVDs and went.
Exactly. And this is what I'm saying. So like, there's people like me who are like, yeah, give it to me. What I think is going to happen is that I predict that DC Universe app is teasing. And before I even thought this before, like I knew this tweet existed. I think DC Universe is going to be very close to same day as digital, like as same day release, and they're going to up the price. Now, what I think what is reasonable is $20 to $30 a month flat for you pretty much subscribe to all the DC titles monthly, and then you get the backlog of everything. Now, what I also think that if they did something like, again, I'm just throwing things out there I think that are probable, because what I think if you do, because first of all, a digital comic shouldn't cost the same as a print comic. $3.99 for a print 22-page.
But isn't the only reason that they do that though is because if they did make it cheaper, nobody would a bunch of people wouldn't stop buying physical copies.
Yeah. See, and also you got to pay people for doing it, right? So you got to, but here's the problem. Like for me, I wanted to keep reading a bunch of DC Rebirth titles when they came out. For instance, I was collecting Batman. I was collecting some of the Superman titles. I was collecting Suicide Squad because the Suicide Squad film just came out and I really liked that. And I still like it, by the way. I just watched the movie this morning. And the third act is kind of ridiculous and out of control, kind of bad. But most of the rest of the movie, I like. So screw you. Anyway, so I was reading the Suicide Squad comics with Jim Lee doing half the art. And I was really enjoying it. I thought it was a pretty solid comic, to be honest. And I had to stop buying them because I'm too many comics. And so what I predict is maybe not the official announcement, but I think what they're trying to do is kind of have their cake and eat it too, which I think is possible if they do something where they up the, first of all, they're not going to lower the price DC Universe. That's not going to happen. So up the price, you basically are able to access all the current issues that are coming out every Wednesday or something like that. But what's going to probably happen is they're going to lower the amount of comics they publish a month. And so that's where I think they're going to control it. And I'm curious, what would that mean and everything? Or something along those lines.
Well, I think they've already said they're definitely going to reevaluate the whole line and try to be smarter about like the books that are coming out monthly.
Right. Now, so with all that said, so for instance, like I don't think if they were to do something like this, let's say, and I'm just throwing numbers out here. If they were going to do let's say it's a $30 a month premium. For you have all the back catalog of all the digital, everything they have digitally available back catalog, which is I love that crap to death. I'm devouring all this.
It's so good.
It's great. And I'm devouring it now, literally as we speak, which we can get into later if you want. But if you think about it, and they say, okay, instead of when the new 52 came out, they had 52 titles. Well, they're not going to do 52 titles for something like this. They would do what's I would say closer to like maybe 20, less than 20. So if you're thinking about you're paying 15 or no, excuse me, not 15, $30 a month for, let's say 15 to 20 titles a month that you get additional, like all the new releases plus the back catalog, sign me up. I'd be all over that. Or along those lines, I'd be all about that. And the one thing they could do, and I'm not going to steal this from someone. I'm just going to steal their idea. A YouTuber was talking about how they may try to focus on the Black Labels comics as they're more premium, a little more high-end quality books. With the higher-end creators like a Jeff Johns, a Brian Bendis, who's going to come off of Superman in November. So
that's the trade-off. Like if you reduce the number of every month comics to like a 20 or whatever, then that does leave room for more one-shots and specials and Black Labels and like smaller 3-issue, 4 or 5 issue like prestige series.
And those are the ones you don't put on right away. You make people wait for, and you maximize the print value that are at the comic shops. You maximize, and this is where I was trying to get to as well. You're still maximizing the most profitable part of comic book market right now, which is the backbone, which is obviously the trade paperback market. That is thriving, and that's where everyone
That's what I was getting ready to say.
And that's
like back in the 90s, they didn't print every single book goes to trade. What you printed was, these are the stories that sold really well for us.
Yeah.
This is what gets a trade, not the New 52 Scott Lobdell Teen Titans that you're just printing in a trade just because.
Justice League International. Yeah.
Right. It's a reason it's getting put in a trade. So that is something for like Pete and I, even though it's not a single, I go, okay, if I can't get my singles, at least I have a hard floppy, so to speak. If all this digital stuff goes, hey, this sold really well digitally, now we're going to print this in a format that you can hold and keep upon your bookshelf, then that gives me something. I need a bigger bag and a bigger board for it. But you know what I'm saying.
So Rob, and again, I'm sorry, you're also going down a road where I was also saying that is a potential, and I was even saying this to Clow on a private conversation. I maybe even told Ryan. I don't know, but. And again, I'm sorry for keep talking because this is actually a really important topic, I think, to be honest.
Well, yeah, we're in the middle of like a big potential seismic shift in how comic books
I'm not just for DC, but for the whole comic industry as a whole.
For the whole industry.
So what I think, because the trade market is only grown. And I think that's awesome. And anytime the comic medium can grow, I'm all about it. Even if it means like the traditional thing that we all grew up with loving with the monthly floppies. I think that there is a potential, again, have your cake and eat it too. What I think potentially, and this is not what I think they're doing right away, but this is a possible kind of workaround, is the trade could then become the issue. Meaning that you could still release them, or you could release, I guess, instead of every month, every couple months, and then have one.
I agree.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying? Like you could have the trade, let's say it's 3 22 pages comic into one, that would be issue Action Comics 1050, whatever. And that would be released every 3 months, and you release that as a trade instead of a floppy. And that way you have a little more oomph to it, and maybe you could release it digitally as a 22 page, whatever you want to call it, but something along those lines. And the trade would then become the new issue, quote unquote, and that would be continue the legacy numbering, which we all are. Anyone who reads these characters and falls in love with them, you eventually will fall in love with the idea that they've been going on so long, and it means something to have those numbers. The legacy numbering is a big deal.
Those volumes mean
exactly.
Things.
So that's where I think they could go. I don't know if it's going. That's not going to be announced next week necessarily.
I hope not, Paul. Okay. I mean, everything you say makes sense, but I love me, and I mean, Rob will back me up on this. Just issues. I love issues. I love back issues, and just having a trade. It's still not the same as getting like that first printing.
Right. I agree.
I
agree.
Yeah.
No, I agree 100%. So, and I think
I have no control of the situation. I can only tell you what I like and what I don't like, and it's just like I just get nervous, because like I love. Again, like I say this all the time, it's like my go-to gimmick. I collect comic books. I don't save files.
And I think, as long as the speculating market is as strong as it is, and for instance, like I'm not trying to promote or say this guy is not worth promoting either, but Comic Tom on YouTube, I watch his show every week, and I'm not like for or against it. It's weird, but I'm drawn to it because it's fascinating that it has a decent amount of followers and people who watch his YouTube show every week about the top 10 trending comics, in their Key Collector app or whatever. I'm like, I'm a walking promotion, and I'm not even trying to, but seriously, I watch it. I'm like, there obviously is still a market for physical comic books. It's out there. It's just not as prominent as it was before, and that's what I'm saying. I think as long as they keep it profitable for that market there, and the people out there who want to collect, there's always going to be a place for physical media in some sort of fashion, and that's why I think that the floppies may not go anywhere. And that's why I think that at first they're not going to go anywhere for a while, but you could eventually see the trade take that over. But again, that's like, I think a long ways away, if anything. But regardless, I don't think the floppies are going away anytime soon. I think because the speculation market's out there and that they just changed distributors, and that could be telling that they're going to be backing down from distributing as much. And I think that's I think obvious, but I don't think it's the end either. I think it just means they're shifting a little bit. You're still going to get your floppies. But I think also, to be honest, I think they want to see what happens when they make this change. So let's say they make this change and they actually make a good profit from it or a decent profit from it. It's like, okay, we can make this work. I mean, let's see. Let's say, what if all of a sudden the speculator market blows up even more and it becomes a more prominent like niche, or more prominent niche is kind of an oxymoron, but because it just raises in popularity, and it's not the 90s where people are thinking they're gonna get rich off of it.
Yeah, that's the thing they have to do is like they can do that stuff to help and it boost the business side, but they can't let it overtake like good storytelling and like why people want to buy the comics and read the stories in the first place. And that obviously happened in the 90s where people were just buying up, black bag Superman stories to send their kids through college and stuff like, and it was, like that, the release of that, like, made comic book stores exist and die, at the same time.
I'm all for them trimming the fat and cutting series and just kind of streamlining things. I think that's what long overdue. I think,
and that happens every 5 to 10 years anyway. So, but yeah,
I'm all for that, and my wallet appreciates it too because like I'm not gonna stop buying stuff, but if you give me more options, I'm going to spend more. But I appreciate them kind of streamlining and just think about quality as not as much as quantity.
Well, if we just go back to the last topic of Three Jokers, if this was a book, like instead of having, I'm just using this as an example, Batman and Detective, you've got this Batman book that only publishes, bi-monthly, but you're getting this caliber of story coming out. I'm like, okay, I could see that. Like a Justice League book, like, all right, Batman doesn't need 12 titles. He's only going to be in 2, but this is the type you get, and we're going to do these bi-monthly, but us Road Warriors are still getting it, and DC is publishing less, but giving us more in quality rather than quantity.
I don't need 3 Justice League titles.
No.
Exactly. Sure. Well, and that's the problem with, this is the problem with I think the big two, right? Is that when they're panicking and they're not seeing the numbers return for some of these series they're taking chances on, they panic and throw a title on top of something they know they can make a quick buck at, which is a new number 1 on a Batman or Superman or Justice League or whatever is trending. And Marvel's is the same way. I mean, Marvel's like, oh crap, Spider-Man, or oh crap,
maybe even more so. Like
exactly.
Reset the series resets.
So,
I mean, they just reprinted Spider-Man Torment, and I picked that up, and they charged that a regular price. I was like, reprint. I've read that story how many times? I can't tell you how many collected issues I have it, but. Yeah. Oh, dude, I'll buy it and read it.
Can we have a Batman review where we talk about Spider-Man Torment, please? Oh my God. Oh,
aren't you on a new Spider-Man show?
Yes. But dude, hold on a second. Hold on. I only say that because it's just so. Do you know what Torment is, Ryan?
It's Scott. It's Todd McFarlane at his best.
Yeah. And that, I'll say this, it's at his best and worst. If it's because his writing is best and his best is worst.
Essentially, it's his best Neil Adams impression.
I was about to say, is it like Batman Odyssey, but for Spider-Man?
I actually like the story. It's very nostalgic for me.
I'm with you, Pete.
It's just vintage.
Yeah. It's McFarlane thinks that he's a good writer, and he's a. Here's the deal.
He makes great toys. I'll tell him that much.
Yeah, and Pete, I have a funny story about the Batman you got today.
Heck yeah.
And I was talking about this on I'm gonna do another promotion here myself, the Comic Binge podcast. I was talking about this yesterday that there's in the old guard artist Leandro Fernandez. He's a phenomenal storyteller in the comic book. Like the dude can tell a story through panel structuring and layouts. Like it's beautiful. But his actual art is just not my thing at all. But because he can tell a story, and then how he lays out conveys what's going on in the story, the emotions of the story so adequately, like I can put up with it because he does such a great job of telling the story on every page. And that's what Todd is. I mean, I love his art. I love his style anyway. And that's not what I'm trying to compare it to. But Todd, even though is not a great writer of him, like of crafting a story, he's an amazing comic book visual storyteller. So so you could literally, like, and this is what I did back in the day. Is I admitted this on the comic binge. I'll do this right now. For any comic when I was reading, whether it be Batman, Spider-Man, or whatever, back when I was a kid, even though I could read, I barely read comics because I would just look at the pictures.
You just looked at the pictures.
And I could fall, and the ones that I knew were good, or I knew that were good art storytellers, were the ones I could tell pretty much exactly what was going on.
You'd come up with your own story, and you just use
I could
storyboards.
What do you think? You know what? Do you think that maybe that's why Marvel? Maybe we're totally co-opting this DC Batman podcast, but do you think that's why maybe Marvel kind of spoke to you more in those days? Is because of the Marvel method way of storytelling, where the artist would kind of
maybe, but honestly, it
draw a little bit more towards the story.
I think it's just because I was introduced to Spider-Man at such a like literally was in front of my face, like since in Star Wars were in front of my face in the beginning. But Batman was also there. I did have a lot of Super Friends action figures back in the day too. So, but again, and we're talking about comics, and Batman's part of comics, so that's why we're talking about this. And the reason why I bring up Todd McFarlane is that, really quickly about Torment, is that if you read the dialogue and all that stuff, it's not very good. But if you just look at the pictures and you follow along with it, you don't need to read the dialogue. You're good. So, and that's the thing with Torment. If you actually sit down and read what Todd's trying to do, you're like, Todd, what are you doing, dude? And then, but
it's just beautiful.
But yeah, it's dude's one of the best comic artists of all time, in my opinion, like straight up. So, So, but anyway, back to Batman. And I want to say this for right now, because kind of going back to what we're talking about DC Universe, I think that with the Black Label, like Three Jokers, which has Batman on Film done an official like podcast about Three Jokers?
This is it.
Can we do that later? Because I have a lot. We could
We should probably do one after all 3 issues are out.
I believe the Batman Book Club is trying to orchestrate something.
Or it might be a Batman Book Club thing.
Well, either way,
I wonder who's going to be on that show.
That's awesome. But what I'm trying to say is that with the Three Jokers and this new Tom King Catwoman, that's also I don't know if it's a Black Label.
Yeah, I'm really
Batman
pumped
Catwoman.
they did that. He Clayman tweeted.
Yeah,
that.
so I think this is where they're going to be going more towards the higher, the bigger names of these books are going to be getting these Black Label kind of prestige format things. And the other titles will be going more of a monthly, going directly to that DC Universe, the more in continuity stuff. And I also want to say that this could be also an exciting thing creatively, because if DC, think about it this way, if DC now doesn't have to depend on monthly subscriptions to have some of these certain series maybe be sustainable, they are now have the dependency of people like us throwing their money towards a subscription service to get access to all the titles, and we can now read all of them instead of being like, well, I have to drop this because, well, I can't afford all this stuff, whatever.
Sure.
Now we can start reading, and now there's might be there'll be a lot more creators coming on that they can take chances on, and these creators can now take chances on stories, and they can see what's resonating with an audience a lot better.
But I also like thinking that I speak with my wallet, and that what I don't buy resonates with equals resonating.
You're right.
With the audience.
Part of that too
they're
is
not
like
buying this book; it's not selling. Like as opposed to
Pete,
just this flat out fee.
But Pete, part of that too is like, we got to watch this or that movie a bunch of times on HBO Max, so they know that we're watching it, and they could have the same kind of metrics for like a DC.
Exactly.
Like, a bunch of people read this comic book.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I think, but here's the thing, though. I think the problem, Pete, is that with what you're saying, and you're right, that's what you vote with your wallet. The problem is some people, like for me, I bring up the Suicide Squad from the Rebirth era. I wanted to keep reading that book, but I could not justify spending $4 every other week on that book.
No, I agree with you. Digital comics should definitely be cheaper. It should at least be half.
No, it should. But either way, this is how they win, because now, as I was saying, let's say like I brought up on the Batman show, Blue Beetle's a great example, right? That character, if you were to put out a print comic and digital comic and it had poor sales, you would just cancel it. Now you can kind of see, like, let's give it a shelf life. How long? Because maybe all of a sudden the first 4 issues that doesn't resonate with people, and then all of a sudden it just clicks, and then you could say, oh, we saw an uptick. We don't have to cancel it after 4 issues. They can say,
yeah, it's a new way of going about business. It's the same way they're doing it. Yeah, it's just.
But what I'm saying is that we might be able to see characters get some life and actually develop, for God's sakes. Whereas like back in the day, that's what they used to do a little bit, where they had to, they wouldn't just cancel something after, 3 months. They'd be like, oh, whatever. This Sleepwalker has been going on for 3 years and it's been kind of struggling. We might as well cancel it now. That kind of thing. Like back in the day, characters could actually like exist for a while, And so to me, that's what would be exciting about this, because I think that you could really develop characters and also talk about R&D department for their, making movies and stuff like that. They can see what's starting to resonate after a while, just in general, like a certain storyline or whatever. All those things.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
So I think, like you said, it's all the same in the end, but I think it's also exciting that that doesn't mean we're going to stop getting great content, monthly content from them either, which I think is what we all want in the end, whether it be collecting or whatever. I think it's never going to go. It's not going to go away. It's just going to be.
I hope not. I really do.
Yeah, and with somebody like Jim Lee at the helm, I think that it seems like they're trying to put their best foot forward to figure out how to attack it from all sides in terms of a business, but in terms of getting the content to all the people that want to experience it and all the different ways that you can experience it, which, FanDome, I thought today, day 2 is really kind of hit that from a lot of different angles. I mean, we've talked about video games and TV and Blu-ray releases and stuff like that. Like, you'll be into this, Paul. Like that, I think my favorite panel of the whole day today was the Death in the Family animated panel, not the series, but the animated panel.
That was today.
That was a good one.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
What happened? So
that was one of the...
That was great.
Yeah, that was one of the new ones, and like, we were already going to get that thing, but it was so fun to watch the creative team and the voice actors talk about the project because they were so passionate about it. I mean, so and in talking amongst some of the other BOF guys, like, I've heard some of the same sentiments, like, well, it sounds kind of gimmicky and stuff, but my answer to that was like, the whole original Death of the Family, it's built around one of the gimmickiest things that's that's been in comics. Is like,
it's tradition.
It is tradition. But they said that that's kind of the thing. Like the whole reason this thing got made was because, I guess the higher ups at Warner Animation were like, well, we want to make some sort of interactive movie. And it was apparently Bruce Timm that said, well, you know what? Like, one of the most like weird interactive experiments in comics history is, the fate of Jason Todd. And so they use that as an excuse.
Wow.
And so sometimes they use that as an excuse to be like, well, how can we like please, longtime fans too? And they're like, well, let's just make a sequel to Under the Red Hood and get the same creative team, the same voice actors, and
Jason
keep
Todd's
it all in continuity.
fingerprints are all over FanDome. 3 Jokers.
It's
Death
pretty
of the Family,
nuts. It's
and
really,
Titans.
it's really pretty nuts. Like, and so, so it's the same creative team, voice actors, animation style, and everything. And they got to and they showed a couple clips from it. They showed a clip with Jason Todd as Hush. Woo! They showed a clip.
Spoiler alert, Ryan Haas.
I know. Well, it's in the panel, so they want you to know.
Fair.
And it's in the trailer.
It's in the trailer.
I saw a trailer. Like
they
half
showed
of it. Come on.
They showed like Red Robin versus Two-Face.
Red Robin. Whoop whoop.
I know. And they showed like the opening credits, which was a really cool stylized retelling of, Under the Red Hood, basically. And the other interesting thing was that they said that, it's a fully interactive thing. It's like a choose your own adventure thing, but they're aware of the gimmickiness of it, but they're aware of it, and it doesn't seem like it'll sacrifice like the storytelling. So it's not like every 5 seconds you have to like turn the page and choose a new thing. It's like pretty legit heavy consequences and stuff. But the cool thing that I thought was that they said that the if you get the digital version, it has like pre-selected paths, and it's less interactive. And the disc version is more interactive and has 5 minutes of extra footage overall or something. Yeah. So, and I think that I believe that is why the digital and physical release date is the same day.
Same day, yeah.
I'm definitely getting the physical.
The physical, like there's no reason. Yeah, like if you want to do my plan for that is to get the physical, do the interactive stuff as much as I can, and then watch the separate things so I can make sure to
I'm going to kill footage. Jason. I'm going to save him. He's going to become this guy.
They said,
I'm going to do everything.
One of the anecdotes was like one of the endings or whatever is like 30 seconds long. Like one of the paths leads to like a really super short ending. Awesome. And then there's some that are, obviously a lot longer. And so they describe, I think at one point they said, like all the voice actors said their favorite outcome or one of their favorite scenes is they're like, we don't want to spoil it, but it's the one where Jason walks into a bar. I'll just leave it at that. So like that's something to look forward to. And yeah, so I was really impressed with that. I was already looking forward to it, and it's cool. I mean, Red Hood's not my favorite character or whatever, but like that Under the Red Hood movie is so good, and to see that creative team get to come back and comic, yeah, and it's cool to see.
They're both amazing,
and it's cool to see them have this outlet to do something fun and unique and an homage to Batman history and make something new all in one. It's really neat.
Couldn't agree more.
And also from the panel, what I thought was interesting was DiMaggio said he was almost Batman in this as opposed to the Joker.
Yeah, he said he was almost cast as Batman. Yeah, that was I didn't know that. That was cool. And then he started doing a Diedrich Bader impression. Yeah, he said he was almost. Funny. That's what he said. He almost got cast as Batman in Brave and the Bold. Is what he said.
I'm disappointed by one cast member, either probably schedule conflict or whatever. But Jason Ackles,
Jensen Ackles.
Yeah, I kind of wish he was back, but it's kind of interesting that the guy that's voicing Jason is now 10 years older from the project, so he is now kind of at about the right age, voice age for Jason now.
Yeah. And that's cool because Robin and Legacy go hand in hand, and to see them like carry that forward with the voice actor is really neat. Yeah. It's really cool, I think.
I know Haas can attest to my... It's not even newfound love, but Red Hood has officially become one of my favorite DC characters.
Yeah, you've been doing a lot of reading.
a lot of Red Hood stuff to look forward to. I'll just leave it at that. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Ryan knows what I'm talking about. No, Red Hood legitimately is one of my favorite characters. He's just fascinating to me.
Yeah, he's growing on me. Like they keep putting him in stuff.
And two Jokers. Oh God, three Jokers. Freudian slip. Let me tell you. But yeah, no, there's a complexity to Jason that I love. Yeah. Complexity in characters, and yes, he's an anti-hero, and I'm not necessarily an anti-hero guy, but like a Punisher, right? Like I'm not a Punisher fan. He's too simple. It's just like it's not my thing. Whereas,
you've got that dichotomy of Batman. It's like where he was trained to be this, but then he turned out. I mean, there's a lot because you could argue, and again, what I love when there's complexity, that means there's not a black and a white answer. It's just you have your side of it, because Jason is brought up in multiple kinds of trauma, and not just because he got beaten up and killed by the Joker, but the trauma of being abandoned by his normal family or his birth family, abandoned by his adopted family, essentially in his eyes, and then being killed on top of that. I mean, like you're talking about just such a complex character that I think not only does it make sense from the gimmick standpoint of where he was killed off by a gimmick in the 80s and they're using this in the same thing, but to have multiple directions you could go, it makes sense for a complex character like Jason Todd. So sure. And then we can have discussions like, well, which one is? Oh, I'm like the one where he turned out to be like this.
Yes,
I like the one where he turned out to be like that, or like maybe there's one like that Pete would want. It's like I like the one where he just stayed dead and never came back.
No, but it's one of those things. Growing up, and Pete, I'm not sure how long you've been reading comics, but when I was, and you're not too far from my age, I think, or what? Within like 10 years, I'd say, right? I'm 38.
I'm 33.
Yeah. So we're close. So when I was growing up reading comics, there was, there were there was a couple kinds of dead. There was Uncle Ben dead, and there was like Bucky dead.
The Waynes.
Yeah, and like Jason Todd was kind of part of Bucky dead. Like there was like, oh, they're not bringing him back because whatever.
Now they're both back.
Yeah. But
no, I agree.
But so back in the day, like it was, and so I remember hearing about bringing Jason Todd back, and Bucky back, I just scoffed from afar because I wasn't collecting comics on a regular basis, or I had just started collecting a little bit right around then. And I just like, oh man, I guess nothing's sacred, I guess, in comics, and just kind of laughing. Yeah. But now they're both Winter Soldier and Jason Todd and Red Hood are easily maybe some of the best characters each company has in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, Jason's been pretty strong. He's had his Red Hood title for a long time now. It's gone earlier before Rebirth, right, Ryan?
Oh yeah. Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing I think with Jason Todd, I think this movie that they talked about in the panel is that there's, again, with the complexity that you can, there's not just I think an interesting factor with that, but there's also, you could play him in so many different directions. Like in Three Jokers is a great example, right? Like he's both a hero and kind of a bad guy, but you play both sides. And you can kind of go back and forth. You can make him an enemy of Batman. You can make him an ally.
He's almost like Catwoman.
Exactly.
Sure.
Exactly. He's like the male version of Catwoman without the intimacy of that side of it. But there's a different intimacy. Right?
Pretty good comparison.
But the point is, in all seriousness, is that you nailed it, Pete. Like he's exactly that character where it's like Batman doesn't know what to do.
He toes the line to however it benefits him in the moment, and that's all that matters at that time.
And that to me is such a fascinating thing, especially with his connections with Batman and he's basically what Batman would probably be in real life, in my opinion. Like if there was a real life Batman, I feel like that's what he would be Jason Todd. Because I just don't know to be honest, if people are that morally capable of being like Batman and be like, I refuse to do this one thing. Right. I just don't know if people are capable of doing that in real life. I just don't know.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree with you.
So it's awesome. Guys, I could talk about Jason Todd all day. Like seriously, so good.
You're putting in some work, pal.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. So I'm going down my list of other Batman type panels. The one that kind of surprised me was that I did watch the Batwoman TV show panel, and I am somebody that did watch the entirety of Batwoman season 1, and I'm not the biggest fan of that show. I mean, it's no
better than Gotham.
It's no Gotham. It's definitely better than Gotham, and it fits in the Arrowverse. I mean, that was kind of my in. And it was true to, they took some liberties with interpreting Kate Kane from the comics to the show, and that's to be expected because they want to do their own thing and they're trying to fit it within the Arrowverse and everything. But a lot of the characters I thought were really cool and well developed, but it was the story around them that got the stories that they were getting put through just kind of. It didn't seem as earnest as I thought it should have been throughout to extend throughout the whole season, but I was still excited to see it. I mean, and interested into following it into season 2. But of course, like the big news is that the craziness of Ruby Rose leaving the role and the role not getting recast, but it getting. But they're going to make a new Batwoman, and they're going to change it's a new character, new race, and and that's going to be part of the story. Like Kate Kane's missing and everything. It's really, and I think we've talked about it on the show before about this whole thing happening. And to me, it seemed like it seemed like something that the comics would do, like at the drop of a hat, of like, oh yeah, well, I can see two minds of it. It's like, well, if you just change artists next month, it's not like that artist is going to be like, oh, I can't draw the character that way, so I'm just going to change everything. But I can also see it as like a stunt the comics would do, where they would be like, okay, nothing you knew is, everything is different, and we're just going to change the creative direction of something. And that's kind of the direction that they've taken for season 2 of Batwoman. And I don't know if it's the right decision, but it's one of those things where it's like, I'm definitely going to give it a shot and see what they do with it, because it's one of those things where it's like, well, it would have been easier to just recast the role and keep going. I mean, it's like to hear the creative team talk about their choices and their decisions in doing the changes was interesting, because it was like, well, yeah, they were like, it's going to be weird if we just recast it. I'm like, not really. Like, you can just recast it and keep going. It's actually harder to completely change, to make a new Batwoman and explain it and change everything. Like, so to me, I kind of think that they were already heading that way, because they knew, ahead of season 2 that Ruby Rose wasn't going to continue. So I think it was kind of maybe already in the works a little bit. But to hear them explain it more and to hear their reasoning behind it and what they want to do with the story and the characters, I thought was actually pretty compelling. And, on the page, like the new Batwoman's character her name is Ryan Wilder. It just, and to see like the casting, like blurb of what the character is, it just seems like very like, I don't know, it almost made up or textbook, wild and crazy new character kind of thing. But you know what? Hearing them talk about it and talk about what they want to do with season 2, I'm interested. I want to see what they do with it and see how they tie it into the Batman legacy and keep going with the characters, knowing that, Kate Kane's gone and stuff. So, I'm going to give it a shot. I don't know if you guys watched that panel or if you have an opinion about Batwoman, but
I didn't watch the panel, but here's
I'm not
the thing:
be a jerk about it. I want to see it.
I'm only 4 episodes deep in Batwoman, and it's okay. It's definitely the best when Batwoman is on screen and just fighting. So that's what I've liked the 4 episodes. It's just interesting that the story's done with Kate Kane, and now we're going on to a new Batwoman. So it's almost like I don't need to watch the first season anyway. So it's a weird thing, but I like the premise and the synopsis, how Kate's MIA, because it's funny because isn't that the synopsis of Batwoman? Like, isn't Batman MIA to begin with?
Yeah, exactly.
So they're both
exactly.
gone.
Yeah.
And we have this new Batwoman. It's cool, and it'll allow for some liberties, and they can do some different things because there's real no ties to continuity. As this what'd you say her name is? Ryan Wilder.
Yeah.
Like, she's a new character, and we'll see where it goes. But,
yeah,
I didn't hate Batwoman. I'm only four deep, but I'm willing to watch the end of season 1, even though it seems like now I don't need to.
Well, I'm going to spoil the end of season 1, so close your ears if you haven't heard it. But at the end of season one, they have Hush. Hush is a character. And,
I saw the pictures. Ooh.
And at the end of season 1, just like in the comics,
does he actually look like Hush?
Yes.
He's not just a guy who's like, I'm Hush, and he has like a bandage around his eye or something.
Oh, he's got a
bandage around his head.
That would be like Bane from Gotham. So, but no, he's Tommy Elliott. He's Tommy Elliott. He's really Hush. But at the end of season 1, he gets he gets a new face, and he gets the face of Bruce Wayne. So he looks like Bruce Wayne. So they're gonna have like some sort of Bruce Wayne doppelganger. Possibly in season 2.
That sounds awesome.
But I don't know if it's going to be one of those things where it's like, first episode of season 2, oh, he's missing again. I don't know. Like, who knows what they're actually going to do. But it does seem like the kind of comic booky thing where it's like, well, here's a new jumping on point. You maybe really don't need to see season 1. You can kind of jump in and see if this is for you. And it goes back to something I think I said, hopefully earlier on in the show, where it's like, I don't know if it's not a bad thing that every comic or every story is not meant for me, and clearly there's a lot of things they're hitting.
There's so much out there that I have a plethora to choose from. So,
like, my in for Batwoman season 2 is because it's related to Batman, and just because it's not Batman doesn't mean I'm not going to give it a shot. So I'm going to give it a shot.
Don't worry.
Let's see. And
go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, I'm on the opposite side of that. I'm not interested in this whatsoever. I wasn't interested in season 1. I'm like, it's not for me, and that's fine. Not, like I said, not every single comic I have to buy because Batman is in the title. It's like, but having there be less of an emphasis of like, now this character is just random girl in a Batwoman costume that has no ties to anything in any type of continuity, which, I mean, not everything has to be in exact continuity, but I don't want, like, Philomena's is on Batman, and then, whoever takes over is, well, I can't really draw that character, so I'm just going to create a new Batman. Yeah. No, Batman is Bruce Wayne. Kate Kane is Batwoman. This is just like I Dream of Jeannie. You replace one actor with another, and that's just... Yeah. That's who it is, because that character means something to people. And now it's like, oh, this character also happens to be a lesbian. She's just a different ethnicity, so it's the same. No, it's not. Yeah. That character has a specific backstory and has a legion of fans because of a certain reason. So I'm like, okay, now it's even doubly for me not to check it. Just putting the Bat logo on something is not going to make me watch it.
Yeah, but you know what? Like, I try to think of it too from the comic book angle. It's like, well, yeah, like at least they're not. They did say like, well, Kate Kane and the reason she's gone, like, it's built into the show. It's a big mystery, and you know, like at first I was like, well, gosh, like yeah, like people are watching the show because they like Kate Kane, they're invested in her and stuff. But then I think about the comic books and comic book examples of this, and it's like, well, you know. If we complained about that kind of stuff, we would have never gotten Jason Todd as Robin or Tim Drake as Robin. Like that's almost the same way, because you could say the same thing about a character like Tim Drake. It's like he wasn't Robin; he just came from wherever, and he's just saying he gets to be Robin now. That's ridiculous, you know.
Yeah,
I mean,
I can totally see that side of it, but I already wasn't watching the show just because I don't have the in for the I love the Robin character and I don't care who's Robin.
So you're looking at it, you're like, it wasn't for me and it's still not for me.
It's still not for me.
Which is also fine, you know, because I can say the same thing about a bunch of comic books too.
Well, the good news is if the show it doesn't have to be for you, Ryan, you're right, because let's be honest, the Arrowverse has enough mediocrity to go around to everybody. So okay, first of all,
I watched 90% of the
show.
Hold on, man.
Hold on, let me defend myself for 1 second. I'm totally joking for the most part because I want to say for the record, I did like the first 2 seasons of Arrow. It just and I like the first 2 seasons of The Flash. I'm not as big into those characters to keep watching, and they weren't the toppest of the quality, if you will. Now, that being said, it just got everything I see from afar. It just did not seem like for me, just me personally, and I think the quality did have to say a little bit to that, but I'm not saying I think they're all bad. Now, as Ryan, and if you follow me on Twitter, know Stargirl is my jam, like 100%.
Oh my gosh,
like that.
yes.
I gotta watch it. Everyone tells me how great it is.
Stargirl is so.
I don't want to
good.
hype it up, Pete, but it lives up to the hype. You would have told me before Stargirl, a month before Stargirl was released, hey, Paul, no crap, you're gonna love Stargirl. Like you're gonna be like one of its biggest champions.
Be like, whatever.
And I'd be like, F off, thing.
Yeah.
I'm never watching that crap.
I mean, for hardened comic book guys like us, it's one of those shows where it's like, this show has no business being as good as it is, but it is.
I've seen you guys defend this show on Twitter. I don't need to.
I know.
No, but here's the deal, though.
You know who I'm talking about too.
But listen. Here's the problem, though. Here's the problem. I worry because it is becoming a part of the CW officially, and that worries the hell out of me because.
Why you can
look at no, you can look at like what happened to Supergirl when it went from CBS to the CW. Like concessions were made, budgets. Well, yeah, concessions were made, budgets were lower and stuff. But yeah, in some ways it could have gotten better. But you know, as long as the showrunners are the same and Johns is still involved, obviously, and all that kind of stuff, like. I think they'll keep the integrity of that show. Like they don't have to just keep it.
And this is and just for the record, like. And I totally think and agree that not every show has to be for you. And in the case of Batwoman specifically, I have no interest of watching the show just because, again, it's kind of part of that CW thing. And I have not been impressed what I've seen from afar. And I like Kate Kane a lot from the comics. I just haven't really felt like nothing about that show felt like I should watch it. Whereas Stargirl did have a very straight up comic booky appeal to me that I was like, I'll just have nothing going on. I'll check it out. And because I had the app open, I was like, well, what the heck, and then I ended up being like one of my favorite shows.
It became appointment viewing for you. Dude, you would watch it the second it was available.
I would not eat dinner literally until 9:00 my time. To watch Stargirl on Sunday night. Sure. So I could eat and like have all my snacks.
And you would text me like, dude, have you watched it yet? I'm like, dude, it's midnight. No. Some days I would though.
Oh, so good.
That's great.
But here's the thing though. I think that one, you might be surprised at what it is, but two, you're right, Ryan. It's not everything. You don't have to like everything. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't mean it won't, because somebody else might love that show, and that's great. And obviously,
as long as it's quality storytelling.
Well, yeah,
in general.
But here's the good news: it's getting a second season for a reason. Like it's popular enough, or it has enough, strength behind it that they're giving it another season. Now, I will defend their Rob. You bring up all great points, and I want to say like 90% of the time, even I think you're 90% right. To be quite honest, just because you're right. Like there's a reason why people watch the show and they made her, Cassandra Cain or whatever. And it's because like fans like this character, and the fact they're not just recasting it and they're creating a new character, you are fighting an uphill battle. Now, that being said, of all the things of all the comic book franchises or whatever that have TV shows or movies, what's the one universe of family that has a decent track record of creating characters outside the comics that have shelf life in the comics? It'd be Batman. I mean, Harley Quinn, a great example. And I think that is it Montoya? Oh my God, I'm sorry.
Montoya was
she was created
series. And they did say in this panel too, I think they said it in the Legacy of the Bat panel, that like they are already looking at how to start incorporating Ryan Wilder into the comics also. Just like the way they did with like John Diggle from Arrow and Felicity from Arrow, like into the comics.
And so with that said, like Batman has a good track record of that. And I think that, let's be real, if it's a good character and people like connect to it, that's awesome. Then put it in the comics and have it be worthwhile. And like, again, we've seen that these characters like a Harley Quinn, because obviously she transcended the TV series, because in the comics she blew up and became a great comic book character, and now she's mainly known as a comic book character, and even though she was created for the TV show. So I think
Felicity Smoke made it into the comics, and so did John Diggle.
Yeah, and so I think that there's room for these new characters, but here's the problem though, and I think you bring a great point at the same time. They created the show with this character for a reason, and if they're going to create a whole new character, they better have a hell of a story and a hell of a great ideas behind it.
It needs to not be half-assed.
Yeah, like Punchline.
Well, I don't know.
I haven't read it yet.
Punchline suck. I have no idea. I have not read it.
No, she's great. I'm just saying that's an interpretation of doing it well done. Kind of like Harley. Punchline's going to take off. Like she's the next Harley Quinn.
But when people say that though, like it almost feels like, okay, it's not going to happen because they're trying too hard. And that's the one thing that she has going against her, is that she is the quote unquote new Harley. But you're legitimately saying like, no, it's legit. Live up to the hype.
No, it's legit. It's she's taken off. Like it's
and you would say that because you're not crazy about a new hot character like the Batman Who Laughs per se. You know what I mean? Like, that's your other example on the other end.
I'm done with him. Well, the Batman Who Laughs and Thomas Wayne Batman have been so overexposed.
Oh, sure.
I'm so over them.
Well, that's interesting.
I'm so happy that it's Keaton.
I'm gonna have to check it out, that this Punchline character, because I kind of
because we talked about the Joker War crossover earlier in the show. Yeah, and it was like, man, I want to jump back into Batman and catch up with Joker War, because it does sound pretty interesting.
It's fun, man. It's a fun. It feels like a vintage Joker story, not classic, in like the terms of like three Jokers, but this is like a good Batman Joker story. It's just it's good old fashioned comic book fun.
Okay, is this that's
the best way to describe it?
All
Joker
new
War.
comics, or is it like, can I get it? Like I know the FanDome has a big sale going on, and if it's not on,
I mean
the last 10 issues of Batman or whatever.
You have to buy the issues. Yeah. It's not like out in like trade or anything yet.
And it's still not done. And
the tie-ins are great, by the way. I think that the Batgirl tie-ins are almost better than the actual story.
They talked about the Batgirl tie-in in that panel, and it's like, man. And they even said, like, Cecil Castellucci was like, I don't usually do this for the comics, but they showed me the cover for the issue first, and then I wrote the issue around it, but it actually made sense, and it was really cool. I was like, man, I want to get this dang Batgirl issue, too. Even though that series is getting canceled soon, too, I think, or rebooted or whatever. But, I think
she'll be back.
Babs
always comes back.
I'm going to call it
her back got repaired, so
I will throw down. We will have Oracle back, and Cassandra Cain will be back as Batgirl.
Haven't they confirmed Cassandra Cain
I need my
back?
dream. Rob, I need my dream book, Batgirls, where you have Oracle, Cassandra Cain, and Stephanie Brown.
Stephanie Brown,
all at the same time.
Ryan, don't
three Batgirls.
Come
three
on,
Batgirls.
There's a rumor going around
Stephanie
online.
Brown?
Yeah. There's a rumor going around that Cassandra Cain will don the Bat costume. Stephanie Brown will remain spoiler, but will have a Bat logo on to represent her time as Batgirl.
And Tim Drake is back as regular Robin. Oh my gosh!
Yeah. Thank God they got him out of that stupid brown suit. What a dumb decision that was.
That was rough. That was rough.
That was not fun.
Here's your package.
Yeah. Can you sign for this?
Yeah. So, I guess we're nearing towards the end of this. Was there any other panels or things that you guys did in DC FanDome Day 2 that you thought was cool? I guess I will start really fast.
Okay, you go.
So I mentioned the Legacy of the Bat. It was basically a Bat family panel. It was pretty interesting. We got to, in addition to some more Batwoman talk, we got to hear some things about Titans and John Ridley's new Batman miniseries that's in continuity, focusing on the Fox family, and we're gonna get an African American Batman. And I mean,
we already have.
It seems
one.
like they're.
Have you read the Stan Lee
called
series
Batwing.
yet? Come on.
Oh, the Stanley. I've got the omnibus over here myself.
Same here.
I have
Thanks,
not
Ollie.
read those. I heard
But
they're not very good.
Hearing John really talk about it, it seems like it's one of those things where they're doing it for the right reasons, and it's the right guy to do a story like that. So I am I'm super interested in that.
I'm checking out. Sorry.
Well, it's going to be like Nightfall. You're going to be like, everybody's going to see how good it was. You're going to be like, I got to go back and read it.
I'd rather have new. This goes right back to Batwoman. Create something new that rivals the old, not change the old to fit the mold.
Well, I think we're going to get both, right? I don't think they're going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think we're going to get both, right? We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see.
And
I'm
for the record,
interested.
I just want to say, when I say they already did a African American Batman, I'm obviously joking because.
Well, and we had Batwing.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying because I also, for the record, I actually really
Two
like
Batwings,
that Batman story because it has John Romita drawing it and it looks beautiful. So just
Senior.
It is a weird Batman story.
It's weird, but I kind of love how weird it is. That's just
It's
me.
my Batman, see?
That's my bad Stan Lee impression.
Oh man,
Excelsior. Anyway, so there was that. There was the Superman and Lois panel. I can't wait for that show. That's going to be cool to see like Superman on TV again. That's going to be neat consistently. The Harley Quinn animated panel was really good.
That was really good.
Hope it gets a season 3, because seriously, that was one of those shows where I didn't think too much of it when it first came out, but then I started watching it and it was like, oh my gosh, it is like next level, so good. Like Harley Quinn and Stargirl are like some of the biggest surprises in the last year of like DC content for me, of being like, wow, like this is so good. And the other thing is like, I did do some of the Kidsverse stuff with my daughter. Like we watched because I kind of just opened it up. Well, first we did some of the theme park rides. You were talking about that, Rob, right? Like,
yeah.
Like it was like some virtual roller coasters and Batman rides and stuff. So we did that. But then I opened the Kidsverse and just let my daughter pick out stuff, and she immediately was like, oh, Teen Titans, and so there was like the Teen Titans Go answer fan questions, and she loved watching that. So that was kind of fun. I didn't even expect to enjoy any of that, but I let her go through it, and she enjoyed it, so that was fun. But was there any other big quick highlights from FanDome Day 2 for you guys?
For me, it was definitely Superman and Lois. I'm dying for that show, especially for the angle of Superman and Lois having kids and being back in Smallville. It seems very fresh, and just the history of Superman on television is so rich that I'm finally glad that I'll kind of get that show that I can appreciate. Like I was pretty young for Lois and Clark, and I enjoy that and I have nostalgia about it. I'm pumped for this, and I like.
Not a
aside
Smallville
from
guy?
being too tiny, I think Hoagland plays a good Superman.
Sure. You didn't watch Smallville?
I don't
or does
like
that not count for
I
you?
don't like Smallville because I don't like those Superman stories where everything comes from Smallville. I don't like Smallville being the center of the universe. It's just weird to me. It's too much of like a coincidence for me. But a lot of people like it. I remember an old legend. I'll drop Jordan Valdez, probably the biggest Smallville fan I ever encountered. But he used to rave about that show. But no, I did not watch.
Sir. So you don't like coincidences, like a wholesome family getting a child out of nowhere. Interesting.
No, it's not really that. It's mostly
know,
like, well, Superman's from Smallville, so's Lex.
So is Lex.
I don't like Superman and Lex being from Smallville.
Guess what? I see that point, but people make the same argument, and I love it when things are tied together. That to me, it gives it more. I mean,
it's destiny.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it comes more of that traditional storytelling of destiny. And now, granted, I don't think there's a right or a wrong, but for me, I can say that Smallville, like as someone who didn't grow up on DC Comics, but like only from afar, and then I kind of rediscovered the characters and got into more of the lore as I got older. Smallville actually was a gateway for that, besides Batman. So, yeah. So I will say,
no, I mean it's huge. People love it.
Yeah.
Anything else? You got anything, Rob?
Yeah, I was talking about this off mic. The Jason Todd Fate by the Fans, which I think this is actually a bonus content from Titans season 1, because in the piece are Denny O'Neil and Dan DiDio talking about just the history of Jason Todd and the 1/900 stunt, and then that was repeated. In Titans season 1 with Jason falling, like, is he going to live? Is he going to die? And then the next episode. So, I mean, that was kind of cool to hear that. So it wasn't anything new for the, for DC FanDome, because there was some stuff that they've just pulled for other content that they had. But if you hadn't bought the Titans season 1, they got a little snippet of the bonus content. So I thought that was interesting, that as I started watching this, I'm like, I think I've seen this before, but somebody for FanDome may have not bought that. So here's some chance to sprinkle some of that. And this is up Pete and I's alley. I don't know if you saw this, Pete, but I watched Todd McFarlane's toy section where he was talking about.
No, I didn't know he had a section. That's also to rewatch. Yeah,
it's about 4 minutes long, I think. And he talks about how the figures are made and the different, like, here's the mock-up number 1, just a very basic figure. And then he shows the drowned figure for metal that's coming out. But you see, Red Hood in the background, and you see the redeco paint of the New 52 Nightwing, and then all the different various figures. And he kind of dropped a few hints, like, we're going to go through the whole multiverse. And he's like, movies and maybe certain other movies that are in production. So I think he's kind of pointing towards, like, hey, we're going to do the Batman.
Of course.
And things like that. So
brand alignment.
I love it. I mean, right now McFarlane's digging deep into the death metal stuff, and everything looks fantastic.
Yeah.
So,
and he's getting his own, like, Batman is designed by Todd McFarlane figure.
Yeah.
I've seen that. It's kind of wacky looking, but it's cool.
But Pete,
oh,
sorry, go ahead.
No. I say it's just cool seeing that kind of content. You have all this, comic book content, but like you said, Ryan, there was stuff for, your kids to do. Then, cosplaying stuff, and then, art critiques from Jim Lee on, people wanting to get in, and then masterclass work. So I was kind of like taking little snippets of little things to watch here or there, just to kind of be able to talk on this. Just not being able to have the whole day, but there's just so much content. So I'm kind of glad for some of the technical errors that were happening that I was made aware of, so I can kind of watch some of this, tomorrow. A couple of the other things that, each of you guys have talked about. I'm like, I didn't get a chance to check that panel out. So
yeah, exactly.
I think this has been really good for them to do. I mean, in the pandemic that we're living in, going, man, I can't go to conventions. Like, we never would have got anything like this
I'm with you.
Had we not had this.
Yeah, they had, you could watch they had the whole, like, virtual screening of the brand new Superman Man of Tomorrow movie that just came out.
I watched
and
that
you could
panel too. It was a good
you
panel.
could watch it for free. Basically, just log into FanDome and see it while it's up. So yeah, I think that's cool. I think the day 1 was obviously it was the biggest day in movie news and stuff, but day 2, this day is like definitely deep dive, more super nerdy fan thing, and I think
FanDome in general is just a success. Rousing success.
And I think that's obviously reflected in the conversation we just had.
But you know what though? I think next year I hope they kind of intertwine, like they kind of go back, instead of doing the stuff they had between panels for the first one with all the movie stuff. Let's put the panels, like the milestone stuff they had, because that was the one panel I thought was really cool. It was in between all of them, because I've been waiting for them to release these milestone comics forever, because I've been wanting to read these things and support the milestone brand for a long time.
That's great that's coming back.
Yeah, I know, it's fantastic, and I can't wait. And it's a long time coming, and it's like, I feel they should have had. I have no idea why they. I mean, I have an idea, obviously legal reasons, but I feel like they should have had these back issues at least available forever. I mean, why I couldn't, because I wanted to support these a long time ago, and it's like I think they're even more important now than ever. And it's like, get these out like yesterday, man. So,
Yeah.
but that being said, I think I hope next year when they do this, that they take like these panels, like the Death in the Family panel and these other ones, and sprinkle them between these bigger panels, because let's promote what you have, for God's sakes, not just like,
Yes.
because that's my problem with a lot of this stuff, just in general with DC and Marvel. It's, these movies, these characters are bigger than ever, but yet they're not promoting the comic books that much. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like seriously, it feels like they could do an even better job of doing that. And I feel like if they put like a Joker War panel, and the 3 Jokers, like in between Wonder Woman 84 and the Batman panel. Like, think about how much you do for promotion. Like, I mean, you wouldn't have like a complete like carryover from each one or whatever, but I mean, a decent amount of people who probably don't read as much would be like, oh, what's this 3 Joker book? And they pick it up and go, holy shit, this is awesome. Like, I should be reading comics, whatever. I mean, that's what I feel like they need to do next year, because I think FanDome's freaking brilliant, and it was a success, and I love it, and I just think it's great. So
yeah, it's just rekindled my love again for DC. It's like, yeah, I want to jump back into DC stuff. I mean, I don't know if I'm the target demographic exact. Oh, I guess I'm obviously the
dude,
target
you are
demographic,
totally
but
target.
it's like, I think it's good. I think the whole event was really well rounded for any kind of person that's either, that goes to the comic shop every week, even in a pandemic, or the person that's curious about it, or the person that only reads, that only gets a trade, or the person that only watches animation, or the person that only watches the movies, or like kids. I think there's definitely something there for everybody, or somebody that only watches the TV shows. I think there was something there for everybody, and hopefully it was enough to get you to kind of want to experience more of DC than you already are. And I think if you can come out of FanDome with that, I think that's obviously a success.
So let me ask a quick question. If hopefully the world goes back to normal, in 2021, so we can see movies and all these other things, and conventions come back, does FanDome go away, or does DC go, you know what, this still went really well, let's do FanDome? Or was this maybe a once in a lifetime kind of thing?
They're doing FanDome again for sure. They have to, because it was so successful as a worldwide event. I don't think that even when conventions come back, it's not like they're not gonna have exclusive variant covers and it's whatever. Like, that stuff's still gonna be there. It's still gonna sell and stuff. But maybe you'll have less giant news, or maybe they'll be like Disney and D23. It's like, maybe conventions around when FanDome will be affected a little bit. Like, okay, if like New York Comic Con is in the same weekend or close to FanDome, maybe you won't see as many new announcements out of that convention. But in general, I think I don't think that it'll affect the conventions that much. They'll still do their thing when they're.
I think FanDome is here to stay. Yep. I think it's the mainstay, because I feel like even Marvel has kind of pulled out of a Hall H a little bit. So
they got D23.
So this is kind of DC's version of that, and I think this is where the next big trailer will get dropped next year at FanDome and such, and you'll still have something at San Diego Comic-Con, but clearly there's been a shift away from Hall H in the past couple of years.
And to be honest, I don't think that's a bad thing, because
no,
I think comic conventions are awesome, and I think from a comic book fan, not from a, like, I want to be cool and hip and go to a comic convention and say I went and because I wanted to go, but I legitimately love like going and buying stuff and what a real convention is. And it definitely turned into this greater thing of pop culture in general, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but for me, it's just kind of, it got out of hand when people are, trying to fight to get into line, and it just becomes like a, oh, Marvel got beat by DC or vice versa. It becomes a us versus them thing, which again, I'm someone who likes that little bit of fun ribbing, like, hey, we'll kick your ass, that's, again, I think it's funny, because it's like, it's fun to be kind of a dork and a jerk like that sometimes, like in a fun way, but people take it way too seriously, and they talk about, and then they get all upset about it. Yeah, exactly. But here's the thing with FanDome. I think what's great is, I think it makes a lot more sense if you're DC, Star Wars, or whoever, to have the whole weekend to yourself and announce these things and say, we own this weekend. Like, not like you're trying to like beat the competition. You're just yourself, and you just have people talking about you by yourself.
You're planting your flag.
Yeah. And so I think that it's just comic conventions was like, survival of the fittest, but now it's like, no, everyone can feast now. And I think that the importance of fighting for competition might make going to a convention like San Diego a lot more obtainable instead of trying to go through a giant crowd of people to get places. So I think this is a good thing, to be honest, because this may make more people be like, oh, I don't have to go to Hall H and to get in line to say I was there and you weren't. It was like, no, everyone was there. We all saw it digitally in the same time digitally.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Cool. Well, hopefully, I'm sure they'll do it again, and when they do, I'm sure we'll be there to talk about it like this. So, I guess that means it's time to wrap up today's episode. Let's do some plugs. Let's start with Paul. You already plugged some stuff. You're doing tons of podcasts.
He's been plugging stuff all day.
I know. Not even stuff I even really care that much about. I'm just trying to be nice, I guess. And I mean that from that YouTube show, not necessarily my boy Tim. I was on Tim's Bat Fans podcast. I couldn't remember the name for the life of me. I'm sorry, Tim. You'll forgive me. I know he will. But yeah, I was on that show the last couple of weeks. I'm on today. We talked a lot about DC Universe app and other stuff. A lot of fun. Tim's one of my really good friends, and yeah, go check out that show. I'm also on the Comic Binge podcast, which is the podcast I do with your fellow Batman on Film brethren, Chris Clow.
Didn't you guys talk about Three Jokers already?
We did. I almost forgot.
See?
We talked about. I did record an episode yesterday, sir, so I'm all out of it. No, we did record a special episode, which I think we might do more current stuff like that. Where it's kind of because I just love talking comics, obviously. So we had a blast, and if you guys didn't know, I freaking love that comic. That was a phenomenal comic.
We talked about it a lot early on in the show. Yeah, it's so good.
God, I wish I was on that. But...
About one issue of a 3-part. Yeah,
it's great. So we talked about that. So definitely, if you love talking comics, or if you're only a Batman comic reader and you want to branch out, I think our show is perfect because you can go and listen to us talk about comics and where to go for binging, next for comic books, and just kind of give you ideas of where to go for these comic book subscriptions that we have. And honestly, we're blessed to have, because I loved comic collecting before them, and it was fun going to half price books and scouring back issues, trying to have complete runs of things, and that's all fine and dandy. But honestly, I'd rather just sit down and read and have the access to read anything I want whenever I want. So check out that podcast, a lot of fun, and also check out Marvel fan show with Sean Gerber, the MCU fan show, I should say. A lot of fun. Talk about Marvel, obviously. Duh. And yeah, a lot of good stuff there. So yeah, check us out there and follow me on Twitter at Hermann22 with 2 N's, aka P Thug. Thanks, y'all.
Cool. Rob, what you got?
We've got, at least for Ryan and I'm tomorrow, the time we're recording this, I'll be editing our next chapter of Everyone Loves a Drake at ELTD Podcast on Twitter, which is technically the start of Legacy. So something I keep saying on the Drake, that's something that Ryan's kind of eager to start with. And then the second show is Everyone Loves Young Justice, because I like the Everyone title so much. So that's it.
I do too.
ELYJ. And then you can find me on Twitter at DrummerRob10.
Yeah, you know what? Batman Day is this coming week. I might need to catch up on maybe that's what I'll do. I signed up for the Batman run, and my back's been hurting, so I don't know if I'm going to be ready for that. But maybe I'm
speaking of the Batman Day. I had to take a little tangent here. My wife recently had back surgery, and she's doing fine. Awesome. So we had to go on a checkup, and we don't know. I couldn't quite remember how to get there because we had to go farther out. So I was like, let's take the GPS with us. And halfway we stopped, and I was like, hey, Waze just updated their app for Batman Day, and you can have early access. Yeah. So I switched Waze over, and it's voiced for Kevin Conroy, and your car can be turned into the Batmobile.
Yeah.
And so we listened to Batman driving up and the Riddler driving back. So hearing Kevin Conroy go, turn left. and B, waiting. So when you see a police car, you normally say, a police has been detected, blah, blah, blah. A Batman will say, police on the lookout. Be on the lookout for Jim Gordon. I need to give him some information on the Riddler. And when you arrive to your destination, says, all right, let's go. Let's see if your training pays off. And let's give it to the Riddler.
So good.
It's awesome. There's different types of things depending on where you're going around. If you're under construction, then he makes reference to Gotham City. And then the Riddler's constantly like wanting to get away from Batman and leaving clues. Should we turn left or shall I turn right? Let's go right. It's funny. So if you've got ways, check that out. And then there'll be more updates for that on Batman Day on the 19th.
So good. What do you got, Pete?
Just follow me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Vero at Pete Illustrated. Follow the podcast I co-host with Eric Holzman on Twitter and Instagram at straight_O_G for Straight Outta Gotham. Follow our YouTube channel. We're doing live streams now. I just did a live stream with Eric and the Vigilante 1939 podcast covering FanDome and those
the
guys
Iceberg Lounge.
Yeah, it's a cool little place. We're gonna have you guys all on it at some point, but we're only 3 episodes deep. But it's a cool little live stream thing we do for special events such as FanDome, and it's been fun. It's been a fun 3 episodes. So check all that stuff out on YouTube and social media, and hit me up, talk to me. Let's have some good conversation.
Yeah. Well, and of course, you can follow me, Ryan Haas, the host of this Batman on Film podcast number 174 on Twitter at SMB_Ryan. You know what? I also have my own Instagram now. Only 2 posts in, but I'm also on Instagram at SMB_Ryan. Follow Batman on Film on Instagram and Twitter at Batman on Film. I'm also on Vero, like Peter, at Ryan Haas. And, I think that's about it. That'll wrap up today's episode. For Pete, Rob, and Paul, I'm Ryan. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Hey now! You've been listening to the Batman on Film podcast, a proud member and the sponsor of the Batman Podcast Network, BatmanPodcastNetwork.com. You can listen to the BOF podcast on iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, TuneIn, and wherever good podcasts like this one can be found. Want to advertise on the BOF podcast? Go to advertisecast.com/the Batman on Film Con podcast. Follow Jet on Twitter at Batman on Film and on BOF's Facebook fan page at facebook.com/jet.batmanonfilm. Email Jet via jet@batman-on-film.com. I'm announcer Rachel. Thanks for listening.